And what a great, great evening to welcome all of you to the Marcy Week Show this Wednesday, October the 16th. And again, it's my honor and my pleasure to be your host tonight, not co host, your host. And I'll be explaining why over the next several shows that you have that I will be hosting. Those shows, and you might be in for a surprise in one of those evenings with one of our special hosts that might be just coming in, and I'll be letting you know shortly what's happening, why you're seeing my face on Wednesday evening, and you'll be seeing it again on Friday evening, and maybe on Saturday, Sunday, and next week Wednesday. But we'll be sharing a little bit about that later in the program. So let me welcome all of you that are joining us tonight here on the Marcy Week Show, the loyal opposition. We have a packed show tonight. And we're going to be engaging a number of things in this show this evening. We're going to be touching on the cybercrime bill. We're going to be looking at matters to do with the schools. We're going to be touching on some of the water woes and in St. Lucie and a number of other subjects. But just great to be with you again tonight. My pleasure and my honor, really, to be here on this show. And I am thrilled to be one of the people to be a voice for the citizens of this country. And I'm going to get to that in just a few minutes. Sir Alfred Benjamin, it's really good to see you, sir. I missed you on Monday, I think it was. Everybody missed you because some people were asking, where's Sir Alfred Benjamin? But good to see you tonight. Curran Williams, really nice to have you, Marcia, as always. Great to have you as well. They love three pineapple 246. Blessings and peace to you as well. Tamika Harper and Jennifer Sobers, Judy Jilts, good evening. Marvin Aline, good evening to you as well. Teroni Hall, yes, sir. Good evening to you and the loyal opposition. A pleasure to have you with us again, FX Trading BB and Captain. Captain, great to have you this evening as well. Marcia Miller, Owen Hines, Nat Grant, all of you. Nigel Carrington, a pleasure to have you with us. Queen B, always great to have you. Yes, we're missing Mr. Franklin, but he's going to be coming back soon. Um, you just keep praying for him. He hasn't been well. He's not sick and in hospital or anything like that. He's just been a little exhausted and with everything that he has been engaging in. So yes, we are missing Mr. Franklin. I will tell you that. I've enjoyed just sharing the show with him, but he needs to get a little bit of rest, and he'll be coming back with us in the not too distant future. Mildred Ben, good evening. Wendy Ford Griffith, good night to you as well. Pleasure to have you with us. Michael Jilts and CG. Cecilia Miller, nice to have you again with us tonight. Philip C. Vernon Garnes, a pleasure to have you, Vernon, with us again tonight. Judy Jilts. And Oh my goodness, all of you. And I just want to ask you to do something for me right at the beginning. That is to share, share, share. And of course, if you're viewing us on YouTube, make sure you give us that thumbs up and encourage your friends and families to join the Marcia Week show. Share, 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 please, as we seek to share truth here. We are uncovered here. There is no covering up of anything here. We're doing our best to be transparent. We're doing our best to be accountable, something that it would do the government well to take a feather out of our cap when it comes to these matters and stop the nonsense. And we'll be getting to that in just a moment. You see, people don't understand a movement, and some people don't seem to understand that it's not about individual. You see, there is no I in team, and we are a team, TEAM. I don't see I in there based on the English language that I learned. We didn't spell team TIME last I checked. That was time. And I don't know that we have a TIAM, a TIAM. I don't know about that. But anyhow, we are a team, TEAM, and not just a team that is here in terms of our panelists, but a team that is here in terms of you, the loyal opposition, and the citizens of Barbados. And I will tell you, it's a joy to have all of you joining us. Love God, Agape Love, Beverly Prescott, Paul, great to have you with us again tonight. Paul Messiah, Tamika Harper and Dale Worrell. Pleasure to have you with us again tonight, Dale. Sean Yard. I can't remember if I welcome you. Judy Jilts. You have on your black too. Well, listen, somebody said the other night, I understand that they could tell that my wife dressed me. Well, listen, even if she didn't dress me, I've learned enough from her that when I dress, I have to look a certain way. Otherwise, she might put me out in the doghouse. Well, she can't do that because we don't really have a doghouse. Anyhow, so it's so good to have all of you joining us tonight. Yeah, Dale and Cece Parker, Lewis Carr, pleasure to have you all. And well, we're up to 267. I have to redeem the time, so I'm going to go straight to the national anthem and of course, our national pledge. And of course, you can see my flag right behind me here. So you know where I'm from. You know that I'm from Barbados. I may not have on the pin as our leadership and people in our leadership ought to be wearing when they go into international arenas so that people have the respect of our flag. And we'll be coming to that in just a moment. So I'm going to ask Dave to play the national anthem for us, and we will begin the program officially at the completion of the national anthem. So let it rip, Dave. Yes, 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 strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. Ladies and gentlemen, loyal opposition, let's repeat our national pledge. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living to do credit to my nation wherever I go. I want you to notice the two things in that national pledge that we commit ourselves to. I pledge allegiance to my country and to my flag. Yet we have leaders in Barbados on international circuits, international arenas that don't wear our flag, which says to me, you are not pledging allegiance to our flag. You may be pledging allegiance to Barbados, but we have made a commitment in that pledge to our country and to our flag to uphold and defend their honor, which means or suggests to us that our flag is something to be honored and respected, not placed in a grave, not placed in a hole, even if it has been put in and brought back out. As a matter of fact, The flag is not even permitted, if my understanding is correct, to touch the ground when they're lowering it every evening, as ought to be done. I understand every evening, wherever the flag is flown, the national flag is flown, it should be lowered and folded and be prepared to be hoisted the following day. And so we pledge allegiance to our country, Barbados, and to our flag, to uphold and defend their honor. And that is what we are going to be doing in just a few moments. We're going to be talking about our defense for the honor of our country. Before we get into that, I want to, first of all, thank those of you who responded to our call, our plea, a couple of nights ago to assist a young lady who had her life transformed in 2016 when her son was born. He had bleeding on the brain and underwent brain surgery at 4 days old. And she indicated he's on a special diet and there's special water he uses. Caring for him, she said, is expensive. And right now, I am not working. Truth be told, I would love to work for myself because I can bake and make natural drinks. Can you please reach out and assist this child in any way? And we refer to the water, that water called the Alka 10 water, which I have now learned. I just saw it for the first time. I didn't know it really existed. It's $35 for a 5-gallon refill, which she says will last her for between 4 to 5 days. And I want to, again, on the show, to continue to make an appeal for assistance for this young lady. Now, this assistance, we're asking for your help on a monthly basis to assist her. And I want to say a real hail out. I'm not going to call names here on the show because I respect that some persons prefer not be named or identified for the deeds that they do. So I won't call the names. But a young lady called me a couple of days ago, indicated that she had some water for her, for the young lady, and told me such a heart-moving story that she had mentioned it, I believe, in her office, if my mind serves me correctly, and that her manager gave her a check to go out and purchase one of the 5-gallon bottles of water, which we collected and delivered to the Unity office, Caswell Franklin's office in 6th Avenue, Belleville. And I was really moved at the response that we are getting from you, and we want to say thank you on behalf of this young lady. Thank you for caring, and thank you for sharing. Barbados is a caring and a sharing society, and we are really grateful for your support of this young lady. It's not for us, but when we see things like this, we do try to respond as best we can and as quickly as we can. And so I want to thank all of you who have reached out and who have pledged and who have donated, whether it be money to buy the water or you've donated water. Thank you so very much. We need to continue this for her. And we, like I said, we want to be able to do this on a monthly basis. And if you're able to assist in that area, please give us a call, 236-7000. I don't think you're going to get through to that number tonight, but you can put a message here in the chat. Dave will see that message. If you want to contact us, you can contact me. Let me see how we deal with this, and I'll tell you why in a minute why I'm having a reservation on this. Dave will advise me is the best way to do that. So you have the company there. You can give them a call for 6262. Let me make sure I can read it and see it properly. 624-2868. And it's located in lot number 17, Unit 3 in the Lears Business Park in St. Michael. Lears Business Park in St. Michael. That's just a little way from the roundabout by Laura Estate, just a stone's throw away from C.O. Williams there in Lears. And you can go there if you wish, purchase the water, whatever capability you have, whatever size you have. 5 gallons is what she'd like to be able to get. But if you can't afford the $5, you can get another size. Please just go ahead and let's assist her. All right. So I want to say thank you to all of you who have responded to our call. The other thing I want to touch on as well, which Dave is going to bring up for me in a moment, is tomorrow. Now, I saw this flyer to do with Red Day tomorrow. And I am not even saying anything more about that. But tomorrow we have Black Thursday. That's why I'm wearing black. And we have Black Thursday because we are standing in solidarity for the things that are happening in our country. I discovered another situation again, a violent act at another school, a mother crying out for justice for her murdered son, her killed son. And as you can see, we mourn for freedom of speech. We mourn, just make it a little bigger, Dave, that they can see it a little clearer if you can, and just increase the size of it. Wonderful. Freedom of speech, high food prices, high gas prices, school violence. Let me just say on that high gas prices, the price of oil has been coming down now, I understand, for several months, yet no adjustment in prices here in Barbados. Increase in gun violence, the national insurance at Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Hope Project, the absentee Prime Minister, brown tinted water. They're more concerned about the tint on on car glasses than the tinted water in St. Lucy and St. Peter. We mourn for that tomorrow. Black Thursday. All right, not red. Black Thursday. Black Thursday. And we're encouraging all of you to wear black in support of these things that we mourn for and we are going to be fighting for. In just a few minutes, there'll be a group of persons that will be joining me to talk about some of the challenges and issues we are having in the country. We also want to let you know of the motorcade that is upcoming. This is a motorcade that will be starting off at St. Lucy's Church in the parish of St. Lucy, of course, St. Lucy's Church. And it's going to be a motorcade to assist with the water woes in St. Lucy. And we are inviting you to join us on the 27th of October. That's a Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock. On behalf of the residents, in support of the residents of St. Lucy, clean water is a basic right motorcade. It starts at St. Lucy's Parish Church car park, and we will be going through the parish of St. Lucy on Sunday, October the 27th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we invite you to join us for that motorcade. And then, of course, for those of you in the diaspora, and now I can probably tell you why I'm here on Wednesday night. Well, today Marcia left the country for a conference in Europe, and she will be speaking at the Roadside Parliament in the United Kingdom in London. And I know Dave is going to put this up for us to see. Those of you who are in the diaspora in England, in London, you can see it on the screen. On the 21st of October, there is going to be a roadside parliament engaging the diaspora youth in the development of Barbados. Dawn Marie Armstrong, June Dixon, Ricardo Eversley, and Leah Afia. And it will be hosted by Marcia Weeks in the flesh. So those of you who want to get close to Marcia, touch flesh with her and encourage her, be at the St. John the Divine. Just come back down a little bit there, Dave. Let me see the location. Good. At 6 o'clock in the evening, St. John the Divine Kennington Centre, 21 Frederick Crescent in London. And there, Marcia, along with her team, are going to be sharing a roadside parliament with you. So we look forward to her sharing with you there in the UK that roadside parliament, and encourage you to do your best to make it there on the behalf of your country and the benefit of our youth to come. I believe that may be the extent of the advertisements that I have for tonight. I think that may be all. I'm just checking back here. We're going to be addressing the matter of milk probably on Friday, but we have not overlooked that in the least, and I want to make that clear. But this evening, we want to start off the evening by having a discussion. We have several persons that will be joining us. My good friend, Mr. Nigel Newton, is in the house, and I'm going to bring him in at this time. Nigel will be joining me. We'll begin our conversation on this cybercrime matter. Good evening, Nigel. Great to have you with us again this evening. Just to make sure you're unmuted. Once you're unmuted, we'll hear you loud and clear.
Yes, indeed. I am
There
hearing
you
you.
are.
I'm hearing you loud and clear, loud and clear.
Good
what a
evening, good evening,
what a
and
privilege it
welcome.
is. Sorry, sorry.
And welcome, welcome.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And it's indeed a privilege to be on air with you again, and my brothers and sisters in the loyal opposition. And I must say that we are doing a really marvelous job, and we have the enemy on the run, and the enemy will not escape punishment. We will ensure that the enemy is punished.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad that you have made that very clear as we begin the session this evening. Now, um, Nigel, you were with us at the press conference to announce a delegation that would be going to the Inter-American Court of Human Rights to make a presentation to that commission on the behalf of the citizens of Barbados. And I want to make it clear this evening. I want to make it clear this evening, Nigel, and I know you will agree with me. This is not about Marcia Weeks. And this is not just Marcia Weeks who is speaking. Just like a parliamentarian is a voice for the members of his constituency, or should I say, ought to be a voice
Ought
for
to
the
be.
members, ought to be. I think you will agree with me, Nigel. Ought to be
Yes,
a voice for the constituents of members of his constituency. This show is a voice for the opposition who have not got a presence big enough in Parliament to be heard and to be considered. We do thank God for Mr. Thorne, who crossed the floor to give some semblance of democracy in our Parliament, where there could be someone who speaks on the behalf of the people of Barbados. And this show was the loyal opposition before there was an opposition in Parliament.
indeed.
And this show, Nigel, is much more than Marcia Weeks.
Of course it is.
There are, yes, it is.
It
They are, Nigel, on nights over 1,000 plus people live on this show,
Yes, yes.
agreeing with us on the truth that we share. And then when you go, Nigel, I don't know if you've had the chance to do it. When you go then um, into the follow up of the videos on YouTube, we can find in some instances 10, 15,000 views of those shows. So I want to make it very, very clear so that the Attorney General hears my voice. He knows me, he knows my voice, even if it's one that he knows primarily through singing. He does know my voice. And I want to let him know that the conference that you heard about yesterday, sir, was not about the individuals who you happen to see. One is on our screen, but about the citizens of Barbados, the people you are
Yes,
supposed to represent, and as the Attorney General, the rights of whom you are supposed to defend as the highest legal officer in the country.
hmm
Your office is supposed to protect the legality of the citizens beyond the prime minister's power. You are there to protect the constitution and integrity of the legal aspect of our country. Your thoughts, Nigel?
I agree with you, Dr. Nichols. Um, what transpired yesterday is not an individual act. It was never an individual act. And well, may I say the is try enemy is trying to single out individuals so that he can target individuals for destruction. But the government, the attorney general, and all persons must understand that this is not about one individual, it is a group, it is a groundswell against the the injustices of this government, because since 2018 this government has been committing various crude acts against the citizens of Barbados, and we considered what was happening to us, and we came together, and we are standing up against the brutality and the disrespect of the government.
You know, the word that comes to my mind as you were speaking is the word nefarious. And I took the liberty while you were speaking to look up the meaning of it. It speaks about wicked or criminal activity. And I want to say, the attorney generals, in speaking, I understand, in response to the press conference that was held, suggested that the international Inter-American, Committee on Human Rights can only make recommendations that are not binding on the government, and that is one statement, Nigel, that is true. But what he failed to continue to say was that the recommendations that are given by the Inter-American Court of Human Rights can then be used to make appeal or to seek adjudication, if you want to call it that,
Yes,
in with the Inter-American Court on Human Rights.
yes,
And
yeah,
when we get there, which we are going to get there, trust me, when we get there, their ruling is binding on the government on the basis of the signatories that we as a country have made. So let no one fool you into thinking that going to the commission is our last step or anything of the sort.
it
We are
certainly is.
not. No, we're
Go ahead.
not. No, no, no. You go ahead. You go right ahead,
No,
Nigel.
it is not. You see, he is just trying to be dismissive of what we are doing and to play it down. But the fact that we have taken steps to go to the Inter-American Court on Human Rights is a significant move. Is
Absolutely.
a significant move, and it has implications for the government. So he cannot just come and glibly say to the nation, oh, well, it is not binding on the government, and suggesting that, oh, we don't have to take it seriously or we don't have to do anything because it is not binding. No, it is binding because, as you rightly said, Dr. Nichols, we will use it as evidence in court to substantiate our claims against this government. And we know that since 2018, they have been doing as they please with the nation and people of Barbados. Okay? And we have said enough is enough, and to put it in Bajan parlance, we have taken steps and we will take it to the final end.
Absolutely, Nigel. And to suggest, because in a sense he's trying to throw cold water on what we're doing.
Yes.
But let me just say that the mere fact that we obtained an audience with the Inter-American Court on Commission on Human Rights
Yeah.
brings the matter to international recognition, international observation, where people in the international community are now beginning to learn what is going on in this country.
And it cannot
What
be
is
ignored.
No, it cannot be ignored
It
anymore.
cannot be ignored.
And so his perspective, um, he talks about how the bill has been extensively reviewed and noticed, and some of the issues to which some of the concerned citizens' objective may have already been addressed. Now, as the leading legal mind in the country, you ought to know if it has been or not may have. It is a serious enough bill that the Attorney General should know if it has been addressed or not. He ought to know if it has been addressed or not. Okay? And so, as we are engaging this matter, we are saying to the Attorney General, with all due respect to you, sir, that this matter has been substantively engaged with several representations to the committee
Select
before
committee. Mhm.
joint select committee before anything was completed in terms of now what we get as the amended version of the bill. And yet, in spite of the fact that there were significant objections and concerns raised, the government proceeded to continue to maintain certain language in the bill and increase the fines, Nigel. And I'm saying that the moving those fines from 70,000 to 100,000 is a slap in the face of every Barbadian.
Of
And
course
from
it is.
7 years to 10 years is a slap in the face of every Barbadian.
It is total disrespect to Barbadians because we have complained about the harshness of the seven
Yes.
years imprisonment and the is it look the and the $70,000 fine that they had imposed initially, but he claims that the issues have been addressed. But how? They increase the penalty from $70,000 to $100,000, and from 7 years to 10 years in parliament in prison. Now, pray tell me, can we seriously have any respect for this government? Can we seriously take this government into our confidence when we have raised pertinent issues impacting the citizens of this country? And that is the response of the government to our concerns after we have raised them, debated them to and fro. And is that the only response that this so called caring government can give to our concerns?
Well,
And must we have respect for this government? Can we
Nigel,
respect this government?
we are looking at the disproportionality of some of these fines, and we're going to be discussing it with several others tonight. I see one of our guests in the back room. Let me bring him in this evening, Mr. Abraham Millington. We Abraham, we want to welcome you to the show tonight. As you know, we are engaging this whole cybercrime issue that we as a country are facing, and according to the legislation, they can reach outside of Barbados,
Well, I
and
am
they
very
can.
much.
Yeah,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead. Good evening and
Well,
welcome
well,
to the
well,
show.
well, good
Good
evening and
evening.
welcome to
Good
you,
evening.
Dr. Ferdinand, and my comrade there as well. I what I want people to somebody said, "Oh, well, you're overseas." No, listen to me. Um, what people? Oh, you remember when we had the pandemic,
Yes, sir.
and it was told, if you're dead, we can pay. Here the words we can
Hmm.
pay. Man, people have to get to a stage, whether they're in inland or Timbuktu, whether somebody have a knife or a gun to your head, because our
Yes.
forefathers did not give up their some work to the dead, or I should say some right to sunset, for us the offspring to say, man, I know, that kind of thing. We have to know what we are about, and what makes it worse is when it's your kindred. I call it kindred political operative. Not nobody from over and away, as the business would say. Nobody from over and away. Your own people can look you in the face and tell you, man, if you say anything that rubbed me the wrong way, I'm going to give my legislative arms the power to shut you up. We can put you away for 10 years or 100. Now ask yourself, Barbados, what percentage of Barbados can actually pay that comfortably and not feel it? I believe merely a 5 to 7%. Merely a
I,
5 to
I, I
7%.
I think you're being very generous. I would cut that down to one or even less than that, 1 or 2%.
Wow. You see,
One or
because
2%. No, when you're talking $100,000, Abraham, and or mind you, and or, huh? So the legislation can actually apply both, where you can be fined and imprisoned.
but how is it that you see what you have to do is read the not only body language. I'm talking about the online presence because there's something in I guess because of modern technology of reading online presence. In the last two, there's a reason I'm saying this. In the last two elections, there were certain people that you were hearing and seeing very visible online as it relates to lobbying for this and lobbying for that. And as soon as certain alignments were starting to get in form, as it, and you started to see a lot of top heavy alignments. When I say alignments, I'm talking about associations starting to form. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, it was almost the FEC, or you heard the clarion call on the ground. Well, I better stop with the mouth. Stop up now. Stop up now. And all of a sudden, over the last couple of, let's say, months or so, you've been realizing that their social media presence is almost like non-existent. You know why? Because you cannot be lobbying for something and doing the same thing too. But
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
it worked. It worked to get what you wanted. But now that you are going to a stage where you want to put the country into a state of democracy on paper, but dictatorship in practice, you realize that the tick are now being very silent, and the what's supposed to be the full-grown seconds inverted commas are just as mute, because the truth is that um what is going on here is I can sense that it is a situation where Barbados again history has uh, revolved, where Barbados again through its kindred political operatives is using Barbados as the guinea pig now for the Caribbean. So if we can accomplish it in the Caribbean, and with test higher and everything, if I can get this done in the Caribbean, we can go up and say, oh, we have accomplished it. So if we get it done in the Caribbean, then it's going to be you will see how fast the
Hmm.
other Caribbean
Yes.
countries start to do it, like 1 2 3 1 2 3, and you will see it.
Yeah,
And then
I
and then
think what you mean, Abraham, is if you can get it done in Barbados.
yes, in
Yeah, if
Barbados,
you can get it done in Barbados, because you were saying the
yes,
Caribbean. If you can get it done in Barbados, you're right. Because we've seen, as you know from history, you've seen a
yes,
lot of things begin in Barbados
yes,
and
of course,
spread to the Caribbean. It's almost like if Barbados becomes the sounding block for a number of things.
and
And
scapegoat as well.
and other politicians in the Caribbean watch what happens here, and says, okay, well, if it's okay for Barbados, then it's okay for me in Grenada, it's okay for me in St. Vincent, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts, Nevis, and so forth. And
Right.
we can see that. Now, I think Dave has a video which I'd like to ask him to share with us. Um, and if he could run a couple of these videos that we can hear, and just bring up your volume, Dave, and let's hear what some of the impacts of this cybercrime bill as we continue this discussion.
Joint Select Committee has submitted its report on the Cybercrime Bill 2024 to the Senate as of August 7, 2024. Despite numerous submissions challenging the constitutionality of several provisions, the committee has not only upheld some of the contentious language, but has increased fines and prison terms and retained the criminal libel clauses. What does this mean for you? Let's dive into how this bill could change the game, especially for our youth and online freedom. Did you know that the new cybercrime bill is cracking down hard on young people? 1/3 of internet users are under 18. So these are the persons who will be at serious risk. This bill doesn't hold back. Even school kids could face severe penalties under Section 20 for cyberbullying, with punishments that many say are way too extreme. The harsh consequences are being called disproportionate, especially since it's likely our teens who will be most affected. The government needs to rethink these harsh measures and consider age appropriate punishments. Shouldn't we be focusing on helping our youth, not just punishing them?
Yes, Nigel, your thoughts on this in terms of shouldn't we be helping our youth? Because as Abraham was saying, the majority, 98 to 99% of Barbadians are going to be exposed to the risks of penalization by this bill. And I say 98 to 99% because there's that 1% that based on relationship never get brought before court and jail or anything like that. And I'll deal with that another time. But your thoughts on what we just heard?
Yes, that is, I agree with the assessment made there because it indicates the level of insensitivity of the government towards the citizens of Barbados. And this government is not about social construction. It is not about empowering the youth. It is simply about control and domination. And it will do any and everything to gain that control, to execute its domineering agendas, and cares absolutely nothing about the citizens. So that is a very good assessment of the implications and the consequences of the cybercrime bill on the youth. And I would say that we should not be surprised. We should not be surprised at the behavior of the government because, in my estimation, the government or governance in Barbados is rooted in the same criminal, insensitive mindset, philosophy, and ideology of the colonizer. The whole philosophy of governance, the whole ideology is about domination and control. Absolutely nothing to do with the health and well-being of the people. And of course, you would know that that began in slavery. Okay, that began in slavery, and I could further illustrate that insensitivity and that criminal mindset in governance by just giving you a short preamble to the 1688 slave code. And I want people to make the connection between the preamble in the 1688 slave code and the implications of the cybercrime, the 2024 cybercrimes bill. Let me read it for you. The preamble: the plantations and estates of this island cannot be fully managed and rendered useful without the labor and service of a great number of Negroes and other slaves, inasmuch as the said slaves and other slaves, said Negroes and other slaves, brought here to the people of this island for that purpose, are of barbarous, wild, and savage natures. They are wholly unqualified to be governed by the laws, customs, and practices of our nation. It therefore becomes absolutely necessary that certain other constitutions, laws, and orders should be framed and enacted in this island for their proper ordering and regulation. And the cybercrimes bill, in my estimation, goes right back to that 1688 slave code for Barbados. And I would say also that in 1970, when there was the uprising in Trinidad and Tobago, you remember that with
Yes.
Rafiq Shah and the others?
Yeah.
Our then Prime Minister was very troubled by that. And I am reliably informed that he said, that can't happen here. And the 1970 Public Order Act was enacted in order to control Barbadians. And only today, I heard on the radio, Today in History by the University of the West Indies, they made reference. In fact, they analyzed the establishment of the police force after slavery was abolished in 1834. Attacks the colonists, the rulers at that time, they were troubled and worried about the freedom granted to the slaves, and a tax was imposed on them so as to support the police force and the other members of the judicial system. Okay, so you have this continuum. Okay, the slave code, and of course the Vagrancy Act and the other acts that came down to the 1970 Public Order Act, and now today in 2024 we have the Cyber Crimes Bill, which cares nothing, absolutely nothing, about the concerns, the fears, and the well-being of Barbadians, particularly the youth, as was pointed out earlier
In that,
in that video.
yeah, Abraham. I was giving some thought to how it would impact our young people. In our day, I'm not sure how old you are. Certainly, I think you give a few years to myself. But in our day, we had the escape from home. We would go to the village. You would go outside and play cricket and run around outside. And I don't know how many of y'all grew up with those scooters that we used to have with the ball bearing wheels front and back, and the sugarcane trucks that we used to pull around outside and all that kind of
I
stuff.
did. I did.
That was kind of our outlet. You know what I'm saying? We
Of
would go
course.
outside, you would run around the pasture because most
And
of the
sliding down
districts
the
had a
hills and stuff.
pasture. Yes, and when
Right.
the canes got cut, we used to run in the cane piece and slide on all the sugar peeling. But today, the young people really, and I don't want this to sound wrong, I just have to face reality. Today, their outlet is technological. And what I am concerned about is if you, I'm not saying there should be a free for all for them to do what they like, because even in our day we were not free to do whatever we like. That's not freedom. That's really bondage.
Right.
And if you uh, threaten them and if you criminalize them in their activities on social media platforms and so on, aren't you bottling up some of the frustrations that they are able to release in terms of that avenue? What will now happen in, for example, our school during the day or in the district or something like that? What happens then?
Well, I will tell you this. F. Barbados right now is struggling, and they may not want to call it by its name, but F. Barbados is struggling where literacy is concerned.
Hmm.
We didn't even get to technology as it relates to computers, and
Right.
and common literacy and the ability to effectively communicate is an issue. Now that has been swapped for almost a while since we had technology and the gaming and Nintendos and everything. So Nintendos and gaming. So you would where I'm going with this is that if you have a very low interactive or interest as it relates to young people in politics. I don't mean filling up plates with food and bringing in the biggest DJs and fets and stuff. I don't mean that. I'm talking about meaningful interaction with youth into um, how they would want to see their country go, how they would want to see their village develop, whatever it be, whatever. If that is being taken away at that, sorry, not taken away. If you are further dumbing down the country, where the very avenues that they express themselves now is even higher police, then what you have done is almost like a all encompassing. I would like to call a name, but I won't call a name. But this kind of control mirrors a place. This kind of control of, I call it intergenerational control, because
Yes.
what you don't understand is that this the same way Nigel was speaking to former colonial, um, I call it slave psychology, that some person miles and miles away, not necessarily ever really stepping foot on the land except for when they want to visit, inverted commas, and sit down and plot. Well, for Jamaica, we know they like X and Y and K. Make sure to have that. Make sure to have that because you know they like that. So make sure to have that, and they can be good. Barbados, well, you know they like a lot of that, so you know you gotta, So what I'm trying to say is that this same kind of strategy has been replicated. I'm mirroring what Nigel said, and
Yes,
it's
yeah.
it's in a new. This is coming from a young person's perspective, and it's in a new age way where it is, in my opinion, even more deadly because
Yes.
this I would call it this lethal weapon of control. It doesn't come in the form of war. It comes in the form of oh, you need it. Well, you need this, and
Hmm.
it is couched within certain legislative drafting parameters, and it is so stealthily hidden in there that you would say we all understand that you can't just write misinformation and disinformation. We get that. And we get that people have human rights, and you don't go against people's human rights and whatever the case is. We get that. But when you are now going to come to the stage where because this subjectivity, where even the judge now, you can put here the words the poor judge, because a lot of people think that judges, judges breathe the same breath as you and I. You know
Yeah, are
that?
you? No, 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 no. That's no, no, no. That's not true. They're breathing something else. I mean, even politicians are breathing a different kind of breath.
No, I see what this does really is put a lot of the judges and poor judges, they can't speak out because the instrument of um, regulatory force can't really speak to the instruments that regulate how they're supposed to regulate. So and it puts them in a very precarious position because as magistrates and judges and whatever, they can't really say, my government, you're doing foolishness. So it is the people. That's why it is always said in law always comes after things on the ground. The people have to lead the way, and law follows. That's why there's a necessity for social legal studies, which is what the area that we do in criminology and all those other things, to
Uh-huh.
advocate and agitate. And then the legal luminaries come and say, you know what, um, this makes sense, we really need to change this, we need to change that. And then that is where they come in. They always come afterwards.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, interestingly enough, as I look even at what was presented yesterday, and because one of the presenters, or should I say, one of the groups that sought to address the issue of the challenges with the cybercrime bill was the Barbados Bar Association. And the commentary on the bill by the Barbados Bar Association highlighted that the imposition of a long prison sentence, such as 7 years, now changed to 10, requires adjudication by an independent court, which, according to the Constitution, refers specifically to the High Court. So the question was asked, is a magistrate's court an independent court for the purpose of dealing with serious criminal matters with the power to impose long prison sentences on persons convicted in that court? Now, one of the presenters yesterday ended, Abraham, by saying he is going to take the government to court. In other words, if the government attempts to engage this matter and push it any further, he's going to take it to court. One of the presenters yesterday as well, I don't know if you were able to see it, Abraham, if you were able to listen to it, because
I
it
did.
was on
I did.
YouTube, and I know we did have some technical challenges at the beginning. One of the presenters was one of my ministerial religious colleagues, and he spoke about the languaging in the bill that was, I would term it, ambiguous. It was not specific, and it left too big a door open. In our preaching, we may be preaching about persons who do not repent and give their lives to the Lord will go to hell. I mean, this is the faith that we have. This is the teaching of the Bible. And then you would have somebody online who's offended by that expression. But we are only expressing what we see in the faith component. And he expressed very serious concerns about it, because sometimes you can be preaching your pulpit in your physical church and it's carried by your television cameras onto the YouTube and Facebooks.
Right.
And we are not even thinking
Well,
about
it is
that.
correct.
We're delivering our message.
And
And all of a sudden we find out, can we hear it there, Dave? I don't know if you'll be able to get the clip where he makes his statement, where he makes that statement. We're not hearing it. We're not hearing it, Dave. So I'll give you a chance to get that. I want to welcome a member of the loyal opposition who was, I think, was in that session. Go ahead, Dave. Let's see if we got it now.
Or share one's beliefs publicly or privately. That's Article 12. Article 13 deals with freedom of thought and expression. States, point number 1, that everyone is entitled to freedom of thought and expression, which includes the right to seek, receive, and share information and ideas through any medium. This right shall not be subject to prior censorship, although there may be subsequent legal liability to protect others' rights or national interests. Now, this cybercrime bill creates a significant problem and challenge for preachers of the gospel. The provisions of Section 19 and 20 of the cybercrime bill, by incorporating broad terms and vague terms like humiliation, intimidation, anxiety, and substantial emotional distress, strikes at the heart of what preachers do. In many sermons that are delivered publicly, the content of that sermon, by its very nature, can cause anxiety. If you preach a sermon that is appointed unto man who wants to die, and after death comes judgment, and that unless that person repent and they die in that unrepentant state, they can end up in a place called the lake of fire of eternal punishment. Would that not cause some measure of anxiety? Would it not cause substantial emotional distress? I would say yes. So if a preacher is not to cause anxiety or substantial emotional distress, then he certainly cannot preach a sermon about hell.
That is one of my ministerial colleagues expressing. Now, obviously, this is going to impact freedom of religion and freedom of religious expression, protected by the Charter of Human Rights, protected by, I think it's the San Jose as well, protected by the same international human courts, Inter-American Court, the human in terms of the human rights, and several others that we could comment on and reflect on. And subsequently, we have that concern raised. Now, again, I want to remind the Attorney General that while he saw the faces of one or two people, this is representative of thousands of people in this country who are expressing their concerns. One of those individuals is with us this evening, a member of the loyal opposition. Welcome to the Marcia Week show. Has asked that their name really not be expressed because, as you know, sometimes there can be an attempt to intimidate people, when they're known. So welcome to the show this evening. What are your thoughts? Turn down your
Good
mic.
evening.
Turn down
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but turn down your speakers so that you're not distracted by that because it feeds back through your mic. Wonderful. You're back?
Can you hear me? Can
Oh,
you hear me,
yes, loud
Pastor
and clear.
Ferdinand?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, well, thank you and good night,
Loud and
Pastor
clear.
Ferdinand. Safe travels to Marcia. Thank you to Dave and good night to Nigel, Abraham, and all the members of the loyal opposition.
Thank you.
So we in the, most of us in the diaspora, I can't speak for everybody, but certainly friends and colleagues and so on, we are paying very close attention to what's happening and thrilled to hear that there are a group of Barbadians who are going to be coming up for the hearing in DC with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. We are paying close attention. And this hearing that has been granted for Barbadians, it underlines what we believe today, yesterday, and every day, that the citizens, they do have the power. And more importantly, as you and Nigel and Abraham would have mentioned, in this case, it is not about one person. It's about, it's not about Marcia or just one person, but it's about the people and our collective power to act and to speak. So we are paying close attention because, as you mentioned, it really does affect us all, even here in the diaspora, and we are very concerned about this.
Yeah, and you have every right to be, because I don't know how many of you remember. You remember some months ago, Abraham, there was a situation in the United Kingdom, I think, where a child was killed. And there were significant riots. I don't remember all the details, but it was carried on social media. And the commissioner of police there in UK, in London, actually pursued the people who carried the video with the riots and so on social media, and went as far as suggesting that they would even go after people outside of the UK who were not even UK citizens,
But
if they carried it. Yeah, go ahead.
But would that court, did it have any weight, or was it a case where they could have done that and
well, we would have to wait to see how they're going to do that, because no country has a liberal freedom and right to pursue people who have broken their laws outside of their country, as far as they're concerned, without the consent of the country within which that person exists, or that person is a citizen. We know that even in terms of actual crimes, Abraham, that you have to seek extradition papers and all that kind of stuff. And of course, the person who he was referring to at the time was Elon Musk. He was seeking to go after Elon Musk. But why I said that is because the diaspora has expressed a concern, because under this legislation, the Barbados government could reach, or persons in Barbados could reach the Barbadian citizens outside of Barbados who
Dr.
caused
Ferdinand,
them
sorry.
discomfort. Yeah, go
But
ahead. Go ahead.
let me explain this to you right now. And people that knew me from even from work, home, my family, whoever it be, know that I'm not just talking because I can hear myself talk or I can string words together. Whether I am home, abroad, Timbuktu or Mars, I am not speaking because you know they have the joke that they have on social media where you see two dogs barking at each other from behind the fence. And
Yeah.
when you pull the fence, the dog stop.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
you're not dealing with that kind of mentality of a person. I think that Barbadians need to start to have a martyr like mentality. You know why? Because our forefathers didn't die that that their ancestors be enslaved by their own people. Does that make sense?
That's the plantation mindset of the past.
No, but it doesn't make sense. And I think that
Yeah.
what the average Barbarian is not seeing is that this type of tactful New Age slavery is coming in such a polished form. Like the other day, I saw a whole barrel of people. I saw you in line to getting your JP. Was it you I saw in line getting your JP certificate? Was
Oh
it you
no,
too?
they wouldn't give me a JP. They wouldn't give me a JP position because I don't toe lines.
No, but I think nothing against the JP position because I mean,
Absolutely not. Absolutely
right.
not. But they wouldn't give me person because I don't toe the BLP line. I toe the
Yeah.
line of truth.
But
You know.
if you watch the signs of the times, it would appear that before you can, as the saying goes, before you can, before you can think or wait twice, elections are around the corner. So
Hmm.
I don't know what is the big hullabaloo or much ado about the fattening of JPs all across the board. I think it is more as far as I'm concerned for what buying than anything else because as far as I'm concerned, I think the more central order of the day is crime, the water wars, and all the other things, and that that are, even this very cybercrime bill. So but you see, all these are just, in my opinion, just a lot of semantics and theatrics. So
But Dr. Nichols, we have to understand that the cybercrime bill, the system or style of governance in Barbados, they all point right back to the colonial system, to the colonial order. Everything that we do or that is done in Barbados in terms of governance and is rooted in the colonial system. And the
Hmm. Hmm.
tragedy about us as an independent nation is that we do not have critical thinkers. We do not critically analyze in fact, we suffer from historical amnesia.
I
Okay?
like that historical amnesia.
Historical amnesia. And then we are starved of critical thinking. And the
nicely.
constant response to legislation, everything in governance or in Barbados, every problem that comes up is dealt with in terms of law. And law is not the only solution or is not the only avenue to civilize people. What about, in fact, I think now that we are becoming a republic, there is a dire need for legal and judicial
Reform.
reconstruction in Barbados,
Yes.
where we change the law and stop focusing on legislation and think more about social construction. We are into we're a republic. A republic. Can we focus on social construction and nation building?
You know,
Why is, why is there this mad rush to introduce the cybercrimes bill and to impose such heavy penalties on the citizens? Uh,
I,
you know, it baffles me.
I want to hear from diaspora as well. When you look at the bill, because I'm sure you have had the opportunity to view it and review it and look at some of the critical areas that we're concerned about in the diaspora. But when you look at it, what do you see as the threat to you? I mean, because you're not even in the country.
Is it me or
If you
the lady? The
no,
lady.
the lady, yeah,
Yes. Fine.
you have to unmute if you're speaking.
Let me see.
Diaspora, I don't know if you're hearing us. If you're hearing, you need to unmute.
Let me see step away.
Possibly. But
Well,
yeah,
what I'll
okay,
say
great,
is
great. Yeah,
that in looking at that bill, can you hear me now? I'm
Oh yeah, yes,
unmuted.
yes. Oh yes,
Yeah.
we're here.
So when we look at it, what we imagine is that, we're sharing something between, us and a family member or friend or old school friend, something. And it looks as if we would be coming home, to visit or something. And we are arrested at the airport and sent to jail for 10 years. It just seems ridiculous, and it does not make a lot of sense. So we are coming home. Most of us, most people in the diaspora, they support families and friends and so on. And you're saying you are putting a stumbling block in our path and saying, we cannot express ourselves. And how are you going to be monitoring our phones? How would you know what we sent to a cousin or a mother or an aunt or a friend? How are you going to be monitoring these things to arrest us at the airport as we land? So it just doesn't make sense.
But that would be illegal monitoring. That's not really what I want to say, because the thing about it is that the delegation that is going to Washington um, in November is going to be seeking. And well, let me just backtrack a little bit here. The mere fact, because in order to appear before the Inter-American Court on Human Rights, we would have had to have submitted some type of documentation,
Yes.
which would have to be considered from the legal perspective of the commission, because the commission has attorneys at law on it. I mean, they're not stupid people. And they would have had to have reviewed the content of what was submitted to determine whether it was a waste of their time or not to hear this presentation by the delegation of Barbados. Now, I am told, Nigel and Abraham and diaspora and loyal opposition, I am told that that this is the first face-to-face presentation that will be made to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights since the pandemic. This is the beginning of it. And they'll be doing it right through, I think, on the 15th or 16th of November. This is the first. Now, imagine that this is not considered to be a major issue for the government, but the commission thinks it's serious enough that the first representation they are going to take in restarting their face-to-face meetings is going to be this one. Clearly, they see some substantive component within it. And while the Attorney General is correct, as far as I understand, he is correct that the government is not bound by any of the recommendations of the Commission. The government is bound by the Inter-American Court on Human Rights, which is the court of the Organization of the American States. And the Commission, the response of the Commission gives us a credence to take the matter to a higher level. So
Yes.
I would strongly recommend to the Attorney General and to the government that unless you want Barbados to be brought before an international court, rethink your strategy.
Yes.
Because I am going to tell you now that it is not going to stop at the commission.
Right.
It's not going to stop at the commission, because we have to defend the rights of citizens to freedom of expression, which is covered under several articles, including the human rights and several others. The Budapest Convention, as a matter of fact, in terms of dealing with cybercrime and other aspects of cyberbullying and so on, do not recommend this type of egregious
Not at all.
activity by the government. They do not recommend it.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, I think Dave has another video, a short one, I believe, another clip. I'll let you play the clip of the AG in a moment, but that other clip, Dave, that you have concerning I think it was the Budapest Convention, or the whole matter of, not the Budapest, the whole matter of this cybercrime legislation being outdated. You have one with that, which I'd like to ask you to cue it up and that we can hear it. The Budapest Convention treats to the matter. Now, we appreciate the fact that there must be some defense, and I think you will agree, Abraham, there must be some defense in terms of cyberbullying, child pornography, human trafficking, all these kind of things that can be done over social media and the internet and so forth. We agree. And I would not sit here in all honesty and say that the entire bill is no good. We are addressing certain aspects that are too broad, too ambiguous, and disproportionate. Yes, and are a deliberate attempt, and I personally feel a deliberate attempt to shut the mouths of critics of the government.
Indeed.
I'm being very straight on that matter. At a time, mind you, in our existence, when you should be seeking to embrace as many critiques as possible, because criticism helps you to think about things from a different perspective and subsequently produce.
Especially when you don't have, especially when Barbados, after 2+ years, does not have a constitution.
Mm-hmm.
I think we don't have. Well, I'm not saying that we don't have a constitution. In other words, we don't have a republic constitution.
We don't have a Republican constitution, correct?
So this is a time where participatory involvement. I don't see anybody shooting the Democrats and telling them you can't say this, or telling the Republicans you can't say X and Y. Okay? People criticize each other, and it's more or less a free for. But because at the end of the day, it is people first, right?
Yes.
So go on. I want to respond
no,
to that.
But you're absolutely correct. We have to be able to express ourselves. I mean, there's not everything I say here on the show that Nigel will agree with. We have courtesies, if you understand what I'm saying. There are some things I may say that you don't agree with, but because we have courtesy in terms of how we're presenting to the general public, we can engage in matters on another platform and so on. But it doesn't change the fact that Nigel is a very good friend of mine, and because we agree to disagree, I go about to shoot him or something. I mean, this is insanity, So let's hear that clip. Is it this one? Is it this one here, Dave? Let's hear it.
Let's talk about how Section 20 of the Cybercrime Bill changes the definition of cyberbullying. Usually, cyberbullying is about clear behaviors like hate speech, threats, defamation, and extortion. These actions are easy to identify, but Section 20 broadens the definition of cyberbullying by including things like causing anxiety and emotional distress. This makes it more subjective and harder to determine what counts as cyberbullying, leading to challenges in how the law is enforced and interpreted. This expansion could create inconsistencies in how cases are handled. Know your rights. The Cybercrime Bill in its current form must be cancelled.
And I like that, the cybercrime in its current form.
In its current form.
In its current form. We're not saying that to have a cybercrime bill is not a good thing, because we recognize that there are some good aspects, and I would not be disingenuous to the Attorney General and say there's nothing good about the bill. I don't think that would be an accurate or honest observation of the bill. I have gone through the bill, and I have seen several areas that I'm happy to see, where I think you remember a case in the US not long ago. I think it was very recent this year, where somebody used AI and use the face of someone, a young lady in an institution, and put a naked body on her and spread it all over the place. And it
Yes, I
was
remember
was,
that one.
and I think, if my mind serves me correctly, she took her life. I think she did. She committed suicide because she couldn't handle, you go into school and all
Everybody.
the people. She couldn't handle that.
Mockery. Yeah, making a
Yes,
mockery.
but again, we come to the whole aspect of the definition of bullying. And one of the things about the definition of bullying, and I looked it up while we were speaking. I mean, while I was preparing to for the show this evening, it suggests someone with greater capability than another. Whether it be in terms of the physical prowess, or maybe their handling of the technology being better, or something of that nature, taking advantage of another. As a matter of fact, Nigel, just today we had a situation at one of our secondary schools. I will do the decent thing on this occasion and not call the name of the school, but one of our prominent secondary schools, Abraham,
I am aware.
where a child who was being bullied picked up a scissors and attacked the child that was bullying her, and the
Last
one
straw,
that
you
was
call it.
being, sorry,
You call it the last straw.
the last straw. and
Hmm.
and and the thing about it, Abraham, is that I understood that it was the whole aspect of the bullying was reported to the school, and the school did nothing.
Inaction.
So as a
Inaction.
result, yes, and as a result, the child feels, out of necessity to protect itself, that it now has to deal with things. Something along this line happened. Not very,
Recent.
not a big issue, but happened with my grandson at his school. And again, I'm not going to call the name of the school. And as far as I know, his mother dealt with it immediately. And I ask him from time to time, how are things? And he says, it's never repeated itself or anything like that. But, when we take our children to school and place our wards in the hands of the government, I'm saying the government because that's what the school sits under. It sits under the control and responsibility of the government. When I take that child to school, I expect that all mechanisms necessary to ensure the safety of that child are going to be in place. And the question was asked by Felicia Dujon the other night we were on. I don't know if you remember this, Nigel, when she raised the question, because there's this talk now about taking action against the parents, a law that wasn't enacted for the past 80, I think 80 years or something like that, taking action against the children. And I referenced the law in Antigua. I don't know if you know about that one, Abraham, in diaspora, a law in Antigua which criminalizes parents for 6 months in jail for the action of
Children's
their
action.
children,
Hmm.
which I think is wrong.
Yes.
I think that is a stretch. That is
Can I, re-
overreach.
can I respond to you with that?
Yes, yes, by all
I think
means.
I think what the government, and I'm not hiding my mouth to say. I think what the government really needs to say is that you are really out of your league, and
Mhm.
you are not addressing the issue, which is um assimilation is the issue where you need to bring parents and teach them how to really get their children not to be so violent. Do that, but I don't think it is fair because there are some parents. I'm telling you, there are some parents that do try their best. But
Yes,
still,
they are.
there are some children that because of the want for money and the parent may not be as wealthy as the one next door, and the children next door can afford X and Y and K, and they can afford it, and but the child doesn't know how the other child is getting what it's getting, and then when it's too far down the rabbit hole as it relates to um skullduggery and all sorts of criminal matters and organized crime, you're going to tell me that the parent that is trying its best must now go to jail? To me, that is, I think what I heard of, well, in my like in first year criminology and stuff, you have they call children being tried as adults, and in some places they try to do it, they're strong on it really, But sometimes because of the level of heinous act or whatever the case is, sometimes it appears that the system tries them as almost like adults, or they keep them, and when they get to the adult stage, they then are tried. You see what I mean? So it may have to come down to. I would rather that than putting the blame on parents, because you have to understand that there's some parents. I'm not saying all. Some
Yes.
parents, some parents do try their best, but some children just decide, you know what, I can do what the Africa we want to do, inverted commas,
Right.
right? So
Yeah,
that's
yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely understand you. There's a question here before we go, because we just have another 5 minutes on this subject. I felt myself and Marcia to take some time because of all that was expressed. You know, the media carried a very inaccurate heading. Suggesting that it was Marcia Weeks. Look, this is not about Marcia Weeks. Let me repeat it. It's about the citizens of Barbados. It is not about Marcia Weeks. It's not about Kimar Stewart or any of the individuals who you would have seen or heard or were named presenting at the press conference yesterday. It was a representation of the people of Barbados. When a parliamentarian sits in parliament, there are not 5 and 6 and 7,000 people that sit in parliament with him. He sits in parliament as a representative of those 4 or 5 or 6 or 7,000 people. So when you see a person making a presentation in a press conference on this matter, you have to remember that there are thousands of people behind them who feel exactly the same way and very strongly on the matter. But there's a question there that I placed. I don't know if you all have seen it. It has also been said that defamation is not a criminal act, but a civil wrong. So how does the bill jump towards cybercrime? In other words, now making defamation or things of that nature, you know, the hurting of somebody's feelings or whatever, a criminal act.
criminal. Mm-hmm.
How do you make that transition? You know, yeah, yeah.
You, uh, you remember the song "Jump"? Is it "Jumping" or "Jogging"? Sorry, "Jogging" by is it Serenada?
You out of my league, or should I say out of yours? You may be a little younger than me in that one.
Well, I know Dave.
But
Dave
go
may not
ahead.
be able to play. Dave may not be able to play it right now because of rights and stuff. But the
Mhm,
people at home and the diaspora, all you have to do is go to your YouTube and put in "Jogging" by Serenada. In other
mhm.
words, what I am summarizing is that within that song "Jogging" by Serenada, I think he won the crown that year. Serenada was literally as the Beijing was tearing holes in Sandy, and
Oh
you
yes,
know.
yes, I remember. Yeah, I remember
so
the
it
song.
so, so
You remember the one, the stinging bees too? Who it was that did that one?
uh I'm not sure. I can't. I
Oh, I
should be
can't
saying. I
remember
should
who
be
it was
telling.
that
I should
did
be
that
telling
one.
you. I don't think it was
But again, you
again.
know,
Griner. I don't think it was Griner. Was it Griner?
we had people from different backgrounds speaking yesterday. One was a young lady who spoke from an arts position in terms of music and poetry and so on, who was now feeling exceptionally intimidated by
Mm-hmm.
being able to express her artistic capability freely, now having to rethink all these things so that she does not cause an offense to anybody and subsequently find herself before a court of law.
But
Exposed to
mhm.
$100,000, Abraham, Nigel, diaspora, or 10 years in jail, or both.
Listen to me. We need to Barbados and the cultural practitioners, all cultural practitioners, old, young, and the ones that haven't come out the womb yet, have to understand that Barbados had a culture of even from the folk days and work songs where the activism, even in the coding of the language and stuff, was normative to Barbados. We didn't fight and we didn't shoot and kill and that, but we used the art form
Words.
within calypso and what it be to
Yes.
to
Yeah,
agitate to the
yes,
powers that be that X
yes,
and Y is
yes,
wrong. So
yes.
Yes.
how you gonna come now and take away that's like what this Cybercrime bill is doing is like the Emerson to the life of Barbados. This is like the Emerson to the cultural industries,
Yes, yes,
right?
Mhm.
So
yes.
I see you have a
No, no, but
Yeah.
Abraham, that is so true. Nigel, you're saying something there.
Yes, I was about to indicate to you that there is a question here on to me, directed to me,
Ah,
which I would like to respond to at some point in time. But let Abraham finish his point and then come to me.
I'll be very short because I saw a video there. What I'm trying to say is
oh,
that
oh!
because
I think that's the video of one of the people who did the presentation to do with the youth and
right,
and their freedom. So Dave, not too long though, but let's just hear quickly a bit of what she had to say.
Necessarily don't understand their impact. They don't understand the consequences of their actions in a space which is basically familiar to them, right? And I want to say that if we look around our island right now, people are going through so much, and the youth do not understand how to express themselves. I was always fortunate where I was in dance. I am in poetry. I create art and stuff like that, and it's very important to be able to express. And because the children are not doing that, they're it is coming out basically in different ways, and ways that are negative. Basically, we have seen children carrying school cutlasses and different things like that. They do not know conflict resolution. And for me, what we are doing with this bill is we are going to put a lid on an already bubbling pot. And when you
yeah,
put a lid on a bubbling pot, we already know what happens. You do not want to see the destruction of the
Yes.
boiling over.
Yes, thank you, Dave. That's exactly
very well,
correct. That is
spot on.
very well put. And
Mhm.
again, if the Attorney General viewed this video because it's on YouTube, if he viewed this, he wouldn't make the he wouldn't make the statement that he is now, he's now seeing who the objectors were. The objectors, that lady represented the entire youth department of the country, the
But
entire youth department.
Mhm.
Dr. Ferdinand, that kind of language is what you call um intimidating theatric because
Yes,
he is trying to make it seem that he know. Listen to me. Barbados has always been split down the line between whether it be BD, we have we have um Jews, we have Muslims, we have Rastafarians, So this kind of now know, but as you now know, you said you are in the wrong office because an office
yes.
as the Attorney General can now know, because you see what Barbados really has to be proud of. You don't see Rastafarians about the place causing havoc and strife and this and that and the third. I mean, for the most part, you see them very civilized and going about the
Yeah,
business and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
but because that is so, don't take people for granted.
Correct,
We
correct,
can't we
correct.
can't say, well, okay, we can sort of hush them down some more, and we can pass this bill fast, and then after that, we it's like a bully. I can see. Uh,
And oh
oh,
dear, it's like a what? A bully, but but that is the very thing the law is supposed to be addressing.
you remember? I remember when it was in primary school or secondary school, when children wanted to start a fight. Talk to them. That's a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
I can pass the bill now. I can sue and I can open them up. I can sue someone like which
yeah,
one, the
yeah.
probably the guard, which one.
Mhm. But what they don't realize is that in a witch wanna, it is a witch all y'all. Is the whole. I don't think they understand. Dave, I know you've been chomping at the bits to play a couple of extracts in just a few seconds before we shift the gears, gentlemen, because I have my other guests just chomping at the bits to come on in and join as we deal with the water war issues in St. Lucie. And he's going to be addressing that for us. But Dave, go ahead quickly and let's just hear what the Attorney General had to say.
This really is a hearing of a general nature, and I need to make it clear that the Inter-American Commission is very different from the Inter-American Court. The Inter-American Commission will hear issues of a general nature, but the purpose of those hearings is to receive information on human rights situations in connection with specific topics and issues. And it can issue recommendations in respect of those rights, but it is not to suggest that what the Commission says would be binding. I think it's important to make that distinction that we are going to have to defend our position on the cybercrime bill before the Inter-American commission, but this will be in the nature of a dialogue with them. While they can issue recommendations, it's not going to be binding on us in any way.
But he has simply substantiated what we have said. That's what he has done. You see, what the Attorney General, with all due respect to him, I know how Caswell feels where he is concerned, but with all due respect to him, because I do know him, and he knows me as well, and I am a respectful person. I get very passionate and serious about things, and I don't mix words. But I'm a very respectful person, and I would not never disrespect the office of the Attorney General, because when he's long gone, the office remains. And
Correct.
unfortunately, a lot of these guys are only going to carry the respect as long as they're in the office. When they leave the office, the respect is going to be gone. But he has to realize that we knew that long before we had the press conference.
Indeed.
We knew that we are not being waited. We are not waiting to be educated by him on this matter. We knew this. But what he has acknowledged is that it is a part of the process.
Yes.
So when the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights finishes hearing our presentation and the rebuttal of the government and whatever, recommendations will be made, which will then determine whether the matter proceeds to the next level, and that will be the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. Well, listen, gentlemen, we have to shift gears a bit to move. I don't know if you want to stay on, because Mr. Strickland is going to be coming in to deal with some of the issues with the matter of water. I don't know how familiar, Abraham, you are on this. I think, Nigel, you would be familiar, because you were
Yes, I am.
in the march and so on here in Barbados. If you'd like to stay on, and you have the time.
My familiarity is that I reside in St. Lucie, or resided in St. Lucie.
Oh, well, don't go anywhere then. Don't move. don't move then. Okay, don't move. Let's bring in Mr. Strickland. Mr. Strickland, I know you don't have your camera on. We can't see your handsome face. Good evening to you, Stephen, and a pleasure to welcome you to the Marcy Week show this evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening to you, sir, and to the panel.
Good
As I
evening.
would have indicated on the last occasion, my internet is still out. This is now almost 3 weeks. I don't know if I am being targeted because of this situation. Don't laugh that further now. But no, it's a situation where the light and power, their line cross the flow's line, and therefore they were waiting flow. Light and power to move a line so that they can bring me back. So if I use my camera, it may
Yeah,
create
that's
the
okay.
same. Thank you very much.
That's okay. You don't need to put it on. That's I was just pulling your leg, because I know you're a handsome fella.
Thank you very much. Good night to the loyal opposition, both in Barbados and in the diaspora. Now,
And
first,
sorry to interrupt you, Stephen, but just in case diaspora is still listening, because I see that she's dropped out. We want to thank you for bringing that overseas perspective to the cybercrime bill this evening. I know you've dropped out, or I did see you drop it a couple of times, but if you're still hearing us, otherwise, we want to thank you, and we look forward to future engagements from you and others in the diaspora in terms of what you feel concerning what is happening in Barbados. So thank you so very much for coming on the show tonight and sharing your concerns. Go ahead, Stephen. Sorry to have interrupted you. I just wanted to thank them because I just realized they dropped off.
okay, thank you very much. Now, as would have been indicated previous, we have planned, and we're just awaiting police permission for the motorcade to be held on Sunday, the 27th of this month at 2 p.m., starting at the St. Lucie Parish Church car park. And we are encircling the entire St. Lucie. Well, that is as far as the good roads that we can use, because there's some bad roads that we really cannot use. And we are inviting all residents of St. Lucie to come out and not only join in the motorcade, but we are not able to join in the motorcade to join us when we stop in your location. Now, it's very, very interesting that prior to what we are having on the Marcy Reed show, there was hardly a word from the representative for St. Lucie, and there was hardly any action by the Barbados Water Authority. But there's now the swabbing of the water lines in St. Lucie, and at this present moment, I think they're just past Spring Hall today. So mostly they're heading towards Pike Corner and the other areas. Now, not only has the representative come out indicating that, as far as he's concerned, we should still be paying water bills, but now the Reverend Charles Morris has now joined the fray, and I'm going to say this publicly, okay? Because the motorcade is for the 27th of October. And I am challenging the representative. I'm challenging Reverend Charles Morris. I'm challenging the minister in charge of the for the Water Authority. I'm challenging all of the technicians from the Barbados Water Authority to come to St. Lucie. Let's have a town hall meeting, because there's a lot that we are hearing. Well, we were hearing that it is the water mains, and as I said previously, if it is the water mains, then the entire country should have the same problem. Isn't that reasonable, Dr. Ferdinand?
Yeah, I would say so, because some of the older pipes would be all over the country. So we should be having some similar, maybe not as bad, because I don't know what the condition of the water, being pumped from certain areas, because we get our water from a different location than you do. But
Okay.
just certainly in terms of the metal pipes that I know are there, and knowing from experience how things build up inside of a pipe, even inside of our veins, Brother Strickland, even how things build up, cholesterol build up in your veins and whatnot, and can restrict flow. We know it happens in pipes, so there should be something.
Okay, correct. Now, I would have listened to Mr. Knox, and I would have listened to Granville Phillips.
Yes, he had a
previous
show on
to
Monday.
to the issue, and everything comes down to the Allendale well. Everything comes down to the Allendale well, and was indicated previously, the filters that were brought in specially for that well have been either destroyed or seriously compromised. So that with the swabbing, we are getting, I can say I am getting water that is still slightly discolored, not maybe as bad as it was before, but I'm also getting water that is white. There's a lot of foam in the water. So I don't know if it's because of the pressure of the water or whatever else, but ours was done since last week, and I'm still getting problems with my water. So if you would have cleaned from Allendale to where I am, if Allendale's well is fine, then I should not be getting any discolored water at this present moment. It's only those persons past me, and as a matter of fact, we have had mains change from Sealer Primary to almost the same Spring Hall. That's about 8 or so years ago, because it was done on the last administration, and therefore we have new brand pipes, relatively new brand pipes, but we are still having the same problem. So that as I said, I am challenging the Barbados Water Authority to come to us in St. Lucie, so that we can ask the relevant questions, because there are many questions that we need to have answered. There's some theories that we want to have presented, so that the technicians, the technocrats at the Barbados Water Authority are able to answer, not the representative, not the minister in charge of Water Authority, not Reverend Charles Morris, because I would welcome him coming also. And it's going to be a challenge also to any other persons, because it seems as if there are those maybe political operatives who believe they have a right to attack the citizens of St. Lucie, the residents of St. Lucie, because I see this as an attack on us, the residents of St. Lucie. It's not just about the water issue. You are coming to us and saying to us as a bully, because I consider those persons to be bullies, to determine what we should say, what we should do, and how we should act. And therefore, I am available and willing to meet any of them at a town hall meeting. And I'm not speaking about St. Lucie speaks or St. Philip speaks or whatever
No,
else.
no, no, no,
No,
no,
no, no,
no,
no, no,
no,
no,
no,
that's
no,
not what we want.
no,
There's
no.
a person or persons control a meeting. If you're gonna have it, come to St. Lucie on this water issue. So therefore, if you cannot answer the questions, I'm not gonna be speaking to you directly. That you to speak to to those at Barbados Water Authority. I want the person at Barbados Water Authority to be there. And the thing about it is that we have a gentleman at the Barbados Water Authority by the name of Alex Eiffel, who is one of the senior persons. I met him only today in the Spring Hall area where I believe that they were doing swabbing. So I know that he is very familiar with the problem, and he may even know the solutions. He may not be able or prepared to give to speak on the issue. You want what I'm saying? But this is where St. Lucie stands right now, and I think that I'm hearing the voice all across St. Lucie in relation to the matter. Okay, whether it's at church, whether it's in the supermarket, wherever, St. Lucie persons are we just fed up. We are fed up with because you can't drink the water.
No.
You can't.
But it doesn't sound like even if you boil it, it's going to make a difference.
But
No.
it's not gonna change the color. It's not gonna change the color. You want you can't
But,
boil
Stephen,
out the color. Go ahead.
Stephen, let me ask you a question because you mentioned, and I think I saw Dave. If you could put that shot up again, you had some blue-looking filters up a few
Yes,
minutes
please.
ago.
Yes,
If
please.
if you could put that back up again for me, please. I want to ask a question. Oh, you're very welcome, Diaspora. Very, very welcome. And you're free to stay right in and make any comments which you wish to make. Let me ask you a question. Right. You mentioned something about these filters being compromised. Okay.
Yes, please.
Am I correct? That's what I heard you say a few minutes ago. Is
Yes,
that
please.
right? Okay.
Yes,
Now,
please.
I am not a waterworks person. I am a car maniac. All right.
Okay.
But years ago, and even today, as a matter of fact, when my daughter has a Mazda BT50 truck, which when she services it, she is told by the technicians to ensure that she changes the filter, the air filter, when you service it, because if you do not change the air filter, you could end up damaging the turbocharger, which is a lot of money to replace. All right. Now I'm using my simplistic, silly, immature illustration of an automotive filter.
Okay.
Okay. If the filter is compromised, whether dirty, disintegrating, or whatever, she is advised to change the filter. My question to you is, those compromised filters, have they been changed?
But no, but these are new filters
Hmm.
that were installed based because I remember when these were I think before they were installed, they were paraded on CBC News that these filters were designed specially for that well. So these weren't filters based on my understanding that they went out and bought on Amazon. These were
Okay.
deliberate. No, based on my understanding, these filters were installed only the end of September.
Hmm.
Okay, and
Okay.
therefore, if at this present moment they are compromised after 2 3 weeks, you're speaking about the millions of gallons of water which passes through those filters for them to be compromised. And that's why we need Barbados Water Authority to come to us because we have engineers, and there's an engineer a former engineer at the Barbados Water Authority, he doesn't live in St. Lucie at present, based on my knowledge, but he's very familiar with the whole matter. He's the person who indicated to us here in St. Lucie that those filters have already been compromised. Well, he said destroyed. I prefer to say compromised. You want something, but there's been damage, which means that if within 2 weeks or so after they've been installed, they're in that state, how if the filter is something that can be replaced, how often are you going to replace them? Every 2 weeks? Something is definitely wrong with the well. And because there are the reports which are coming out that when Port Ferdinand was being done, because only today.
Sorry, Stephen. I just wanted people to know that that is not my port. That is not my port. So please, okay. I don't know why they call it Ferdinand. I don't know why in the name of God they gave it that name. But I just wanted people to know because some of the people are international. And my name is Ferdinand, so they might think that there's a connection. I want everybody to know there's no connection between me and the port in St. Lucie. Go ahead, Stephen.
The port is not in St. Lucie. The port is in St. Peter.
Sorry, St. Peter.
Thank you very much. But no, but
I don't even know what it is.
But I was made to understand that the well itself at Allendale has been compromised when they were doing work at Port Ferdinand. Now, as I would have indicated just recently, I'm familiar with wells because as a young man, we used to dig wells in our communities, the toilet wells, okay?
Yes.
So that if you're digging a well, there are caves that you will find as you go down.
Yes, sir.
All along the side. It means that water coming from maybe a mile away can end up coming through caves and end up in that well because there's a well at Crabble Plantation, and my mother's house is next to the Crabble Plantation as well. I remember many years ago that well was connected to the Barbados Water Authority, and it would be one of the questions that I would want to ask those at the Barbados Water Authority would be to examine the different wells that are available in St. Lucie. Now, there is a well at Montpoyer. Interestingly enough, the well at Montpoyer was a well managed by the BADMC. The well at Montpoyer and at Friendship, both of those wells now are under the direct control of the Barbados Water Authority. So that I would want them to examine these 3 wells because these 3 wells are within a less than a one mile radius. So that if those 3 wells are examined and the water coming from them is not the brown water that we are getting from Allendale, then it clearly proves that one, the theory in respect of Port Ferdinand is correct, and second, there is a business. There is a business which I prefer not to indicate at this present moment, but there's a business in the close proximity of the well at Allendale where they run off water. I was made to understand can or is finding its way into the well at Allendale. And therefore, that's why, even though we're going to have a motorcade on the 27th, that is only the first. That's if we don't have the town hall meeting before. But the 27th motorcade is not the end. That's only the beginning of what we are planning for in St. Lucie, so that we can have clean and clear running water in St. Lucie.
There's a question there. There's a question there, Stephen.
Go ahead.
That I would like to throw to you. Is the water at Port Ferdinand brown too?
Well, no, because you see, Port Ferdinand is seawater.
Okay,
Port
so
Ferdinand is seawater. So based
desalination.
on what I'm hearing, the water from Port Ferdinand is going up to the well at Allendale and
Okay.
compromising the well at Allendale, not the other way around, right?
Oh.
Because actually, there was a clip that I sent it to Dave. I think I sent it to Dave. I don't know if he would have seen it, but there's a recording which was sent to me only this morning, and the person that's speaking, I'm not certain of the author, but the person is saying that the solution would be to close off for Port Ferdinand, but it would cost $30 million to have it done. But you know nobody's going to touch Port Ferdinand because Port Ferdinand is for the rich and famous, and for the Doctor Ferdinand also.
Oh, dear, oh dear, oh dear. See, you see what I mean now? See what I mean, guys?
Right. So I'm just saying that there are certain persons or persons who have a hand in this whole matter in St. Lucie. There are persons with power and influence in Barbados, which is affecting us in St. Lucie. And therefore, there are those who have been sent out, whether it's the representative, whether it's Reverend Charles Morris, or whoever, and whoever may very well be coming, they may very well be coming to distract us in St. Lucie from our purpose in in obtaining clean and clear running water. Because St. Lucie had a reputation many years ago,
Yeah.
and I'm not speaking about partisan who was in government, but St. Lucie had a reputation many years ago having some of the best water in
Yep.
Barbados.
I can
You want
see that.
some the best water in Barbados, and as I think it was Granville Phillips who indicated that there are three reservoirs which are serviced from Allendale, which would be the one at Half Acre, which is the one that we in Conlontown we get our water from. Then there's the one at Lambert's, which those persons in the Picorni area and Jose Hill get their water from. And then there's the one in Boscobel. So that one well in St. Lucie services all of St. Lucie and parts of St. Peter also. So
Wow.
therefore, it's not just us in St. Lucie who are seriously affected because the swabbing started in Six Main, interestingly enough, which is right next door to Port Ferdinand.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
if you listen to the ads, they said we are starting and up to today on 97.5. I'm still hearing that they're swabbing from Six Main to Harrison Point. They haven't even changed the ad. They haven't even changed the ad, and they passed Six Main and Harrison Point well over a week now. So you see they're miles away from that location. So Six Main seems to be affected, which is another constituency, another parish altogether, and Boscobel is being affected,
Now,
which is not in St. Lucie either. So it's not
now
just
you,
about water in St. Lucie.
uh-huh. But you're now dealing with the area where I lived, Stephen.
I know.
I
I heard you
I
say that.
I lived in Boscobel, and when I was there, when we first went there, they did not have proper running water because my mother agitated for water, electricity, and a proper bus service because she was the principal at Boscobel School, and she was not satisfied when she got there with the things that she saw. Because my dad used to have to drive his Tram 2000 Mark II for miles to get us a 55-gallon drum full of water to come back for us to use at our home, and he had to do that on a regular basis because we were not getting the full flow of water. And so when we left down there, water was wonderful. My mom used to play at the St. Lucy's Parish Church, and we drank water at St. Lucy's Parish Church straight from the pipe. I don't know if you remember those days, Stephen. We used to
Yes.
put our hand under the pipe and drink the water straight from the
Mhm,
pipe. We didn't
mhm.
filter nothing. We didn't boil nothing. You understand what I'm saying? And so I would want to know, and to my mind, the Barbados Water Authority is obligated to tell the people of St. Lucie what is the fundamental issue and how are we going to fix it. It needs to be fixed. Stop the talk, stop all the foolish politicking or politicking, if that's the word, and fix the matter. Stephen, when it comes to the matter of bills, sue the government. If you are charged by the government in terms of your income tax and you don't pay your bill, they sue you. And under a contract that you make, under a contract you make, and I'm sure the appropriate attorneys will be able to tell me substantively if I'm right or wrong. Under the contract you made, once you pay your bill, you have entered into some kind of a contract with the Barbados Water Authority, who is obligated to supply you with proper water. If they don't, you are in a position to
You
sue
breached the
them.
contract.
You breach the contract.
What I can say to you is that the same church minister that spoke yesterday, that was aired just now, Reverend Carter, happens
Yeah,
to be my next door neighbor.
yeah,
We
I
we
know.
are are just across. We can see each other's house. We are that close. Okay, so that there is an attorney who has been contacted. That person has been contacted um, to pursue the whole issue of the non-payment of our water authority bills. Now, I want it to be clear that this is not a partisan political issue. And
Yeah,
they may be no, no. I just want to state that because there are those who may believe, and they're free to believe that I am on a partisan political agenda. You spoke about your mother agitated. I was raised by a mother who um, agitated at the plantation, Crabbe plantation,
Mm.
the boy from with what mattered to her. So I never learned how to be afraid. Let me put it that way. I never learned how to be afraid because she was never afraid of persons. And therefore, for those who may believe that some of us are on an agenda for any partisan political thing, they need to recognize that we are fighting for the residents of St. Lucie. And I believe that the
yes.
residents of St. Lucie we have the fighting spirit. Yes, the younger generation may not have it as much as us, the older ones. And that's why I'm encouraging all residents of St. Lucie, irrespective of your religious, political
It's nothing to do
affiliation,
with that. Nothing to do with
come
that.
out and
Fair enough.
stand up. Because if you don't speak now, you will have to hold your peace for the rest of
Correct.
your life.
Yes,
Yep.
And
yes.
that's the most I can say to the residents of St. Lucie. Speak
And
now or forever
or
hold your
forever
peace.
hereafter hold your peace. But Sonny again, like to get him married. Stephen, I'll say this to you because we have to shift again gears in the show. We have
Thank you
some
very
guest
much.
artists already on. We have another one that will be joining us shortly. But Stephen, I want us to keep this matter in the face of the Barbadian public because it could easily be St. George or St. Thomas or St. Andrew
Mm.
or Christ Church or some other parish. It happens to be St. Lucy. And last I checked, St. Lucy is a part of a 166 square mile country called Barbados. So that what happens in St. Lucy could potentially affect the rest of us in one way or another, regardless of how it is. And I'm so pleased. I was a part of trying to get stuff for the last motorcade they had. Unfortunately, I injured my ankle the day before and could not make it down for the distribution of the water. But I'm hoping that I can make it down make it up because I'll be coming up to St. Lucie
Thank you very much.
for the with the motorcade. All right. So I'd like you to keep this. And to be honest with you, I am tired, ladies and gentlemen, members of the loyal opposition, my panelists. I am tired of us always addressing things within the realm of a political matter. This is a Barbadian issue. And
Dr.
it
Correct.
doesn't
Ferdinand,
matter whether you're BLP, DLP, or some, I don't know what
NDP.
else. Okay. It is irrelevant. It is to
Dr.
do
Ferd,
with and those days of partisan politics are gone. They are gone. Our young people are not subscribing to it,
no,
and
not at
we
all.
are on the way out. So let's get
Th-
a shift. And I agree with Nigel. You know, we are Republican in name, but we are not Republic in substance and on practice and operation. So, Stephen, I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight and keeping us abreast of what is happening in St. Lucie, that we can be a part of it because you are a part of us. You're connected to us, the people in St. Lucie, and I'm not talking like the Democrat. I hope nobody don't mistaken me for the Democrat candidate for the presidential elections. I am a passionate person. I think most people who know me know I am sincere. My mother has taught me a level of integrity I refuse to release. And as a result of that, I see things and I'm concerned about it. And I'm glad that you continue to keep it in our focus. So I want to thank you for coming on tonight and sharing with us, and hope that you'll be able to update us in future shows as to what is happening in St. Lucie. So thank you again, Stephen.
You're
Indeed.
welcome.
Thank you.
Have a blessed night as we continue to follow the show.
Yes, thank
Thank
you
you.
so very much. God
Mhm.
bless you. Well, we are getting ready, gentlemen, to transition over um, to two very special guests that are coming in. I see one so far, and I hope I can bring him in. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to bring him in. I see Nigel London. Good evening, Nigel. I don't know if Nigel London means that you are in London, or if it's that's your name, but it's a joy to work. I love your shirt, man. My goodness, you got to send me one
Yeah,
of them. You
Yes.
got to send
thank
me
you.
one of those, man. I tell you.
Good evening.
I take it that you are from the beautiful land of Guyana. Is that right? Would I be
You are
correct?
correct. You
You
are
know,
correct. And good
I
evening.
have not been there for some time,
Okay.
Nigel, and I will tell you that the last time I was there, you were doing an exchange rate of 33 to 1. So that will tell you how long ago I have not been in Guyana. And I apologize.
It's it's been quite a while. Good evening to you and good
Yes,
evening to
good
the others
evening
over here
and
in
welcome
panel
to
Good
the
evening.
show.
and
Welcome,
those who are
welcome.
listening. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
We want to hear what's happening in your great, beautiful country. I saw a clip just today of a presentation of your president at an event very recently, where he shared a bit of a vision. I understand, and I understand that he's supposed to be featured speaker in the government's conference this coming weekend. So let's hear, sir, from you what is happening in your wonderful country.
Well, thank you. There's quite a bit that's happening in Guyana. As a matter of fact, we are now touted as, to be the fastest growing economy. Um,
Wow.
and then in the world, that is, and then per capita, we are deemed to be the wealthiest nation now. And that's because of the discovery and the extraction of oil. However, the challenge we face here is that the impact of that wealth is not being felt by the average Guyanese. And so to many of us it is quite interesting that I see or I read an article that Irfan who's the president of this country, is going to be in Barbados, and he'll be speaking at a conference of some sort, um, because of the interest that is being had in Guyana. However, it's one thing to have an interest in a nation based on what is presented, but it's another thing to have the reality being experienced by those of us who are here.
On the ground.
And that reality
Yeah.
is quite unfortunate in that for so many decades, Guyanese were not deemed to be among the wealthiest. And now we're deemed to be the wealthiest nation on the planet. Yet, more than 50% of our nation lives below the poverty line. Um,
Sorry,
Yet,
sorry, you said what? 50%?
more than 50%,
More
in the
than
last time we checked,
50%?
is below the
Wow.
poverty line.
Wow.
That's by international standards. Our teachers are the lowest paid in the entire Caribbean,
What?
though we are the wealthiest nation. So I don't know what Guyana president, as the title says here. I don't know what he's coming to say to you in Barbados, but I'll be happy to be there for him to answer those questions to me as to how do you have the wealthiest nation, but yet the poorest, the lowest paid teachers and public servants. Our pensioners earn 1/5 or less than what those in Trinidad and Tobago may earn, maybe Barbados. Pensioners earn about, in some cases, 100 or $150 per month.
Sorry, $150 a month pensioners.
Yes, old age
Lord,
pensioners, those who served this nation for 30 plus years of their lives in the workforce.
Wow.
So my being here is to have those of you in Barbados maybe ask the question as to what makes this leader so attractive to your prime minister, and what makes him so attractive to the BLP that would require him speaking there when we have got so many issues on our hand regarding discriminatory practices towards those of African descent. We know that the United Nations would have had 10 years devoted to those of African ancestry, descendants. So it's called Decade of Those of African Descent. So during this period of time, we would expect that the African descendants would be treated with some degree of honor, some degree of consideration for what we've endured at the hands of slave masters. I call them criminals and murderers. But what we see here is that there's an oil company in ExxonMobil who is earning so much that I think George Bush said Biden said he made more than God himself in 1 year. Because to produce a barrel of oil in Guyana, it costs about 60 or less dollars than that. It's next to nothing, minimal cost. But ExxonMobil, knowing what Guyana would have suffered for years, knowing the state of us as a people, would have come here and they pay zero tax, nothing. They pay for absolutely nothing, and all of their expenditure must be borne by the Guyanese population. So it doesn't matter what they do. If the executives want to buy a Learjet or a Gulfstream 5, we have to pay for it. And then when they extract that cost, that's where they say we're going to share profit. And so we need to know what is going to be said to those of you in Barbados regarding these kinds of situations that we face. There is absolutely nothing called ring fencing, where if there are 10 wells that they're extracting oil from, they could say, well, number one costs us $10 billion. And then if well number two costs them $50 billion, they can put that cost back to well number one. So there's no independent and individual charge. So Exxon is robbing Guyana in that they're extracting oil and they're not having any fixed cost per well. Okay, there's so many things that are happening in this nation that we require a significant and an urgent conversation across the Caribbean. Because if there's an oil spill in Guyana, it can affect the entire Caribbean. This is important for us to take note of. We have got the said person whose political party, went to the court of law with ExxonMobil to fight Guyanese who were saying that there should be an unlimited figure regarding insurance for oil spills. There should not be a capping to it. If there's an oil spill, whatever the cost is, it must be borne by ExxonMobil. And we have got leaders who are political here who went to court to take the side of ExxonMobil to say, no, there should not be any unlimited insurance file. There should be a limit to the expenditure regarding oil spill, a cap. So the entire Caribbean can be threatened. Your livelihood can be threatened. Everything about you can be threatened in small island states. And we have got leaders here who are prepared to take the side of an unfair and unjust oil tycoon in terms of company, to say that if there's any disaster, they will not spend more than $2 billion. I think that's something to that effect. When we know that BP disaster costs, I think 16 to 17 billion or maybe more by now. Yeah. Okay. So we have, or I'm here to issue a call to Barbadians to understand that which Guyana is facing is not or should not be considered a little personal matter or some little local matter that we have to address. It should be stretched across the entire Caribbean. For one, there should be fairness in reference to the distribution of our wealth. Two, there should be equity in terms of how our people are treated in reference to those of African descent. And that's why I'm hearing what I'm hearing tonight. We should be treated as though we are people of significance and people who deserve and require respect to be given to us. It should not be a case in which There is no one in Guyana and no one in the Caribbean who can take me up on the challenge of this man naming 5 individuals, 4, 3, or 2, who would have been made of African descent, that is, who would have been made as wealthy as he and his leader, in reference to the party, Barra Jagbio, based on their economic policy. In essence, I'm saying that there is discrimination ethnically when it comes to wealth in our nation. These are matters because Barbados is predominantly African descendant. Hence, my making the point. It is not a Guyanese problem because we all came, in reference to the loins of our ancestors, on the same boats, but we may have just ended up on different lands. So we need to understand as a people the systematic economic oppression of one group of people by individuals who are presenting themselves as gurus when it comes to the wealth of our nation. And we have to address this as a people across the Caribbean, not just as a local body or a national group, I should say.
But Nigel, as I listen to you, the phrase token gestures went through my mind. I see you smile. What I find, and I must say, I've been around the political realm of Barbados for a very long time. My family has been involved in politics one way or another in Barbados for a very long time. And I've come to the stage of my life where I'm tired of token gestures from government.
Yeah.
I consider putting down a road a token gesture. I
Correct.
consider putting in electric lights and waters token gestures. As a matter of fact, I stand by the position that it's your job. In other words, when you do these things, don't come out and hail that you have done them. That's your job.
Correct.
That's what we employ you to do when we elected you to office. All right. And it reminds me of it reminds me of so many things I've been hearing recently, even in the United States, of these token gestures that are done where the citizens of a country are concerned, to more or less keep them quiet, if you follow what I'm saying, and not
I am.
address the serious issues that the people are having. I can't believe that in 2024, I just want looking to see that I have the right year, because hearing what you said, I had to check my computer to make sure that something didn't happen when we changed the when they had that thing some years ago, to make sure it was in 2024. Um, I can't believe in the context of 2024, you are telling me that a pensioner in Guyana gets 160. Now, I'm assuming you're talking US dollars. Okay. Are you talking US dollars? Please tell me
The
yes.
equivalent. Yeah, just about the
100
equivalent.
160 US dollars. A pensioner is getting 160 US dollars a month. I don't know what the exchange rate is US to Guyana right now. Could
On
you
average,
enlighten?
about 208. So it's about 30,000 Ghana dollars per month.
Okay, so they're getting about 30,000 Guyana dollars a month. Is that a correct assumption on my
Correct.
part?
It is.
And I would assume that costs in your supermarkets have not gone down.
No.
I would assume that costs in terms of your petrol, your fuel, where has that gone? Up or down?
Up.
Now I can't believe this. I can't believe this, because I really thought when you found oil that your fuel costs in the country would decline. And as you know, fuel cost is a significant input into everything that happens in a country that drives inflation.
Correct.
I mean, I'm not an expert, but common sense, Nigel. If you have to fuel a delivery truck with diesel, and you got to fuel, different components, your fuel, your electric generators, and so on, and all that kind of stuff. Those inputs, fuel is a very significant component or input into the overall cost. And you're telling me that in a country that is oil rich, now Barbados has no oil, we don't even have sugar cane.
True.
All right. Um, and you're telling me that Guyanese teachers are the lowest paid. I am going to welcome a colleague of yours to come on because I think she has something to do with the teachers the last time I heard her. So permit me, gentlemen, if you don't mind, I'm just going to digress for a moment. Permit me to welcome the Honorable Corita MacDonald, MP. Uh,
Hello, good night.
Good night, ma'am. Good night.
Good night,
Good night.
good night, good night. It is so nice to see you. I have not been on a show with you for a long time,
I
and I
know.
hadn't seen you on a show for a little while. And it's really a pleasure to have you on with us tonight, and your colleague Nigel. And I'm hearing him say some things, Honorable Carita, that I am laughing, but forgive me for laughing. It's just I can't take it seriously. Otherwise, I think I'll get a headache. I can't believe that on the basis of what I've seen happening in your country with the exploration of oil, that he is saying to me that your teachers are the lowest paid in the Caribbean. Welcome to the Marcia Week show.
Well, good night, gentlemen, and it's a pleasure
Good
being
night.
here again. And while you don't see me with Marcia, I'm having my own shows in Guyana. As a matter of fact, Nigel just came off of one of my show where
Is
we were
that
looking
right?
at education. Yes, education in depth. And that's why I was running late because I was leaving studio heading home to catch you here now. But you know, this thing, I want persons to understand, your viewers especially to understand, and I want, let me say good night to them too. I want our viewers to understand that this region, it's a ball, it's a small circle.
Mhm.
And many times, whatever happens in, and we've seen it happen in recent years, whatever is happening in Barbados, it flies down to Guyana.
Yeah.
Like for
Yeah, yeah,
example,
yeah.
and it's I don't want you to see it in any bad light. Barbados has got lots and lots of roundabouts. In Guyana, we call ourselves the roundabout country because every two turns you make, you got a roundabout being constructed. So some of the kinds of things, whether it's good or it's bad, whether it's going to be progressive for the country or destructive, they sometimes rub off. And you know the relationship that our president, well, not our, the president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana is having with the prime minister
With the
in
Prime Minister
Barbados.
of the Republic of Barbados.
Yes. So a couple of things rub off. But what you're saying is actually factual, that outside of Haiti, Guyana is rated the lowest in terms of paying their teachers. You would recall that as of from February 2nd, February 6th of this year, the teachers in Guyana, the teachers union took industrial action, and I don't know. I don't know what went wrong there. Okay, yes. So our teachers took industrial action and they were on the streets for 75 days. 75 days. And at the end of at the end of that period, all the government could give the teachers is a meager 10%. A meager 10%. But lo and behold, while they were telling our teachers that there was no fiscal space in the budget to accommodate increases for our teachers, we just saw last week the government rolling out a 200,000 per household one-off cash grant for families. Just about a month and a half ago, they signed that deceptive agreement with the teachers union, telling them that you can't afford to pay anything else, but you are now rolling out $200,000 per household. Just before I came on the show here, Nigel would tell you that we saw a different announcement coming where they're going to be rolling out $100,000 per individual as long as you're 18 years and over. But your educators, you couldn't pay them.
Sorry to cross you,
The
Madam
equivalent.
Karita. Are you saying, are we talking about what we have been hearing about, something called universal basic income?
That's what we're talking about.
Is that what we're talking about that you are beginning to have happen in Guyana?
Well, this is what I'm saying to you. In Guyana,
Whoa.
the government is so wicked that their intention is to punish any institution that decide to rise up against them.
Yeah, go ahead, Abraham. You want to ask, ask
Yes,
something?
yes. I must say, well, welcome you both. I am actually really, really excited that you're here, and I follow things in Ghana very closely because I have both relatives, and I've been to Ghana more than once. Okay, and what I can see happening in Ghana is outright mockery of the masses. Because if you do those rates, if you do the rate exchanges, you will see for a country that, correct me if I'm wrong, ma'am, is it not stated that it's 1.5 billion US minimum amount that is made on the oil gains? It is that is minimum,
Mm-hmm.
and I my syllogistic reasoning, when you want to hide something, sometimes you store what you do, you store something. So it's essentially the naive public that wouldn't really understand that this 1.5 billion is really the minimum that it would be making a month. And you are telling me when we had what's the name of the school that had the fire again?
Well, we had several schools that were on
The,
fire.
is it
Madia,
Madia,
Madia
pardon?
Dorms,
the
the
dorm.
dormitory
Right,
of
right.
Madia.
So when you can see the level of poverty in those areas and stuff, and then you come right around because I've been through a lot of places in Ghana as well, and when you trek through and sometimes even to get to these places even is so almost like it's an obstacle course in itself to do that. Why is it that the wealth is not being it's not trickling it's just I think that Ghana, between Ghana, well, Trinidad to some extent, but Ghana needs to understand that this is 2024. Whether this Ghana cannot tolerate this caste system thing that they can see that is probably mirroring itself there.
Mm-hmm.
All people are created equal, and whether you're is it give me the names of the parties again? I can't remember. Is it UNC? Not UN. PPP. Then there's
There's
um,
AP and UAFC.
correct. Whatever one you are. Why is it that the public of Ghana can't understand that this race thing has to go and that equity has to start to be in the country?
Well, I don't think we're going to. I don't think we're going. And pardon my pessimism, because you would expect to hear a lot of optimism from me as an evangelical minister, and of course I believe in optimism, but I'm also a realist. And to be honest with you, when I think the time has come that a generation, it's going to take a generation of new politicians to change the mentality of politics in the Caribbean.
Yep.
I'm being very honest with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do not see any of our politicians that are currently in office, none of them, changing anything that is happening in the Caribbean at the moment, because you're absolutely correct. We look at Guyana as, I think I've heard it referred to often as the breadbasket of the Caribbean, if my mind serves me correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And as you would probably know by now, Nigel and Madam Carita, we are having a shortage of milk in Barbados, and we are getting milk from you. All right, we're getting some milk from you. I'm not going to say anything because I have the respect. I have the respect for my Caribbean CARICOM people. You are not responsible for the ignorance of our governments. So
That's
I'm
true.
not going to malign manufacturers and people who are doing their business in order to try to make a living. But we're getting milk from you. I understand that our black belly sheep are now resident in Guyana. So we are sharing our black belly sheep with you. The agriculture minister says that we don't, not the agriculture minister, somebody up here says that we don't have a shortage of black belly sheep, that the farmers are telling lies. I don't know. I don't know. He goes in the fields, the farmers got to feed them sheep every day. So I don't know who's telling the truth when it comes to that. In other words, what I'm saying is that I'm seeing a sharing of certain things between our countries. I'm seeing a sharing of certain things, to the point where I believe I don't know what is involved in the processes because I'm not at that level of political involvement. But oil can be. I don't see why Barbados could not be getting oil from Guyana. But at the end of the day, the revenues that you generate in Guyana should be substantive enough for every Guyanese to be living comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
to my mind, that is not going to happen until we have a major paradigm shift of politics in the Caribbean.
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
simply not going to happen. We need revolutionary leaders. If you follow what I'm saying, like how we used to have in the past. Not necessarily saying that everything they did was great, but we had revolutionary leaders like our former Right Honorable Arabara that saw the vision of our country becoming independent and led Barbados into independence, and other prime ministers in the Caribbean that did likewise, and they had a vision for the country that resulted in improved education, improved standard of living. We have so many cars on the road right now in Barbados that I don't know where we're going to put them, and all of that has happened because of the vision that previous leaders had. Our former Prime Minister, Mr. Tom Adams, had a vision of a highway connecting the airport to the West Coast, and subsequently we now have the ABC Highway. We're the visionary leaders who see it necessary to improve the lot of their citizens so that their country can develop. We're the visionary leaders.
Well, my dear, let me say to you, it seems as if our minds went together walking down the streets, because the same thing you were talking about education and where our visionary leaders were some of the very things we were talking about on my program earlier. And Nigel would tell you, we just spoke about in the 21st century, and in Guyana 76 schools are still having pit latrines. You know what is a pit latrine?
What?
Of course.
No, no, no,
76.
no, 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 no,
Hi,
no, no,
man.
no, 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 no,
Hi,
no,
man.
no,
Let me tell
no,
you,
no, no,
76
no,
schools
no, no, no.
just about 2 months ago. That survey was completed. And you know what? The Ministry of Education, they were forced to put the information out there because we dug deep and we got the information. They couldn't hide it anymore. Pit latrines. You
In
spoke about
76 schools?
76 schools. You just spoke about, my colleague just spoke about Madia and the Durhams, where we had that fire that claimed the
Yep.
lives of
Yep.
20 innocent
Horrific.
children. You know
Horrific.
what? Over, I think, maybe 2 years, reports were submitted by the fire department saying to them, this place is unsafe. These grills that you have on these windows and the doors, they are
A trap.
unsafe. They should be removed.
Mhm.
You know what? 20 lives had to be lost and the entire building destroyed by fire. When we talk about nutrition and all of those, it was just what we were talking about on my program, where back in the days when you had Errol Barrow and LFS Barnum and some of the other leaders who were prime ministers in their territories, there was a vision, not only a vision for education and a vision for healthcare and a vision for defense, but there was a complete vision for the country and for the territories within the Caribbean. And you know what? Those leaders were selfless leaders. They did not want to own many properties and have huge bank accounts in their territory and in other territories. They served their countries
Well,
with
Yeah.
distinction. And so material things did not matter to them. As a matter of fact, let me say to you, under the Burnham PNC-led government, in 1992, when they lost government, many of those ministers did not even have a house for themselves. They did not own a house. And that's to tell you how they served. But now, we got mansions upon mansions upon I'll let Nigel tell you about some of what is happening in Guyana with some of our politicians here. The ministers, just about 3 years of becoming a minister, and you got 2 mansions, you got apartment buildings, you got this, you got that, while the masses are suffering.
Dr.
And
Nichols, the problems in Guyana and throughout the Caribbean, we need to have a candid historical analysis of the development of the Caribbean, and in particular to Guyana. I think the problems of the Guyanese, the African people in Guyana, their problem began back in the 1800s when the British brought in the indentured servants from India. And immediately there were confrontations between the African
Indo-Guyanese.
population and the Indian population. And I don't think to this day that the aftermath of that disruption, the aftermath has not been been cleared up. And until Guyana can face the racial problem, that the historical racial problems in Guyana, and deal with those issues, I don't think Guyana will be able to resolve the problems. You see, and the whole attitude towards Guyanese of African descent is one that needs to be seriously analyzed, and bold, visionary leadership take on the challenge to resolve that issue, because we cannot in 2024 continue with that kind of divide. And I am particularly concerned about it because it is religious based. Because if you go back to the Aquarium Gospel of Jesus the Christ, let's go there. The story goes that when Jesus was in India, he confronted the Brahmins and asked them to explain their system of caste. And it was said that God or Brahm made 4 men: white, yellow, red, and black. The black man is at the bottom. And that doctrine or that system of caste said that the black man, I don't remember it correctly, but he has no rights that anyone needs to respect. And nothing but death can save him from his plight or his condition. So whether we want to admit it or not, the problems in Guyana goes way back to the introduction of the indentured servants in Guyana, and to this day, those problems have not been resolved, and there is no interest. That is where you have the kind of situation in Guyana, and it is coming to Barbados. It is coming to Barbados. In fact, the entire Caribbean now is being invaded and taken over, right? And we have to pay attention to the social dynamics and the, racial interaction and so on and so forth, because if that situation is allowed to continue, then we are in serious problem,
Yep.
and we need to pay attention to what is happening. And I think it is time that the African population in Guyana be recognized and respected, valued, and be given the treatment that is necessary for decent human living in this 21st century, in 2024. Oh,
If I
sorry.
may,
May I say how happy I am to see, to a certain extent, my namesake Nigel and the
oh,
Honorable
well, wonderful.
Donald. Welcome, and it is really a joy and a pleasure to be speaking
Thank
with
you.
you tonight. But
Thank you.
we need to pay attention to the ethnic and racial and the philosophical, the religious. We need to examine that.
Your thoughts, Nigel, and
Well, thank you. And you've all said quite a bit that should be addressed. I think even the dogs are agreeing with me here, in that the issue we face has a lot to do with the quality of leadership you have across the Caribbean and the culture of politics in the Caribbean. The culture is that you look up to political leaders for them to take care of you, and you have to be so cautious as to not upset them lest they do not do that. Additionally, the thought process is that those who are elected and selected to serve, when they get into that position, they are considered to be demigods and little lords over people. And once they're treated in that manner, then there's little room for them to vacate that degree of power when they have it in their minds that they have it over an individual. Additionally, when I observe and we observe how people are able to access their wealth, because wealth of a nation belongs to the people. And if in a person's mind they believe that they can only access their wealth through pandering or kowtowing to some big boy or some leader, then they are likely inclined to accept just about anything that comes to them in reference to how people treat with them. So the clarion call is for those across the Caribbean to understand that the power lies within you, the power lies within the people, and the people have to make significant demands that those who are in leadership must serve us, or they are removed. There has to be a generation that arises across the Caribbean that will make leaders understand that you're not going to disrespect us anymore. And that's why I would say to people in Guyana and wherever I am, I do not ask politicians for anything. I make a demand. It is my right to have it. Whatever is my right constitutionally, I have to have it. We now hear talks about the for example, here they're going to have university education, the tertiary, the tuition removed from it. And that's deemed to be some significant step. No, that has always been the case in reference to law. The law of Guyana is that there's free education from nursery all the way through tertiary level. In 1992, under the same PPP where Ifan is coming to you all, that same party, they chose to have that law not repealed, but disrespected. And the people allowed it to happen. We have got oil that was discovered, and the people again are saying, we have all of this money, we have people exploring our oil, making all of this money, we need some of it, but the people are not stepping to the politicians to say, give us what is rightfully ours. Instead, persons are accepting little handouts here and there. Now, I'll speak to what my namesake spoke to in reference to the religious aspect of this here. Because for the first time that I can recall, the first time, and I don't know when, since I was born, I'm 50 years old, for the first time, a police officer walked into a church and arrested the keyboard player.
Yes, I heard
and
of
his
this.
father. For the first time under this administration. The same Irfan Ali is coming to you to speak, needs to address these things. How do you have religious freedom freedom of expression. And a law enforcement officer will walk in, not outside, walk into the church, stand in front of the church beside the keyboard player and arrest him. That has happened under a party that's led by a Muslim, but actually the leader of the party in Barbados, the general secretary, is a Hindu. And that person who serves with a Muslim being the president, under their watch, the Christians have come under attack. When in Guyana, 55% of the population is deemed to be Christian.
Yep.
And they couldn't stand up to say this is disrespectful and this is dishonorable. So we are going down a slide that if the people do not arise and say this is enough and this has to stop, we make a demand what is rightfully ours, we will be in a very serious bind in reference to our existence as a people.
Nigel.
Honorable Karita?
Yes. So I just want to step a little back to remind us and to inform us that it was Chedi Jagan who introduced into Guyana a Panjat system, you for you and me for me. And that's where the racial wedge was created in this country, where coming out of the PPP's party, where Jagan and Burnham were hand in glove, when they split and Burnham went his way because he could not deal with the ideologies of Jagan anymore, and Jagan went his way, Burnham formed the PNC and Jagan continued with the PPP. That was their mantra in order to hold people and to get people to vote for them. So at that time, there were somewhat more East Indians than Afro-Guyanese in Guyana. And so Jagan went down that road. Of course, there were some Indo-Guyanese who went with Burnham. There were some Afro-Guyanese who went with Chedi Jagan. But Chedi Jagan was the person who instituted that Apanjat system in this country. And from since then, way back in the 60s, it has not changed. What we are seeing is an even more deepening of that wound, where especially when it comes around to elections time, you have the People's Progressive Party's operatives. They go out there and they preach the race card. And so they tell their kinds, if you allow Black people to rule you, they will take over, they will rape your daughters, they will put you into poverty, they're hooligans, they're no good, they're not this. But you have Afro-Guyanese who sit there and accept these kinds of nonsense, and they can't say a word simply because they themselves are slaves in the camp that they have decided to go into. Now, when we look at, if you travel this country, you would be able to identify, without us telling you, communities which are Indo-Guyanese communities and communities that are Afro-Guyanese communities. It is clear you'll be able to identify that. We look at communities where you have Indo-Guyanese living in, and when you go through those communities, you see well-done roads. You see lights in those communities. And when you go around Afro-Guyanese communities, it is far different. Nigel can tell you about what is happening where he lives in Linden, Region 10. And you know what happens there? The people in Linden and in Region 10, they've always rejected the PPP. And you know what they're doing to them? They punish them for every single thing. No kind of, yes, I don't know what happened to us there just now, but it happens when we run programs like these. We get all kinds of interruptions, but don't worry, our message is going to get out anyhow. But I'm saying to you, this is what they do. They terrorize the teachers in the schools and they threaten them. They terrorize the reporters. They terrorize ordinary public servants. We were talking about it just earlier, that the PPP, they have a scheme now where they have pulled some folks on and they've given them jobs. We call them 10 days workers. So they work 10 days for the month and they receive 40,000 Guyana dollars, which is equivalent to just about 200 US dollars per month. Now, these workers are threatened every time the PPP government, every time they have a function, because I can tell you the Guyanese people have despised them now. Even the East Indians have despised them because of what they're doing now. So when they have programs, they want to they make a big show that look how many people are attending, how many persons are attending our programs. The people are with us. You know what they do? They threaten the 10 days workers. If you don't come, you no longer have a job. And then they give them a red t-shirt to put on so that they can go, and they ferry them to their functions. They have to go to their functions when they have functions. And so this is the kind of apartheid system that is being played out in Guyana. And it will not stop until, like you rightfully said just now, unless we have revolutionary leaders who can come and sweep the place clean with new brooms and new vision and new ideas, and say to our people that we are one, we are Guyanese. And so if I'm going to give Nigel a broom, then I must give Harry a broom. If I'm going to give Rita a sweet, I must give the same sweet to Susan. Unless we start standing for what we believe, we are never going to get anywhere. And so while we're having the race card being played in Guyana, I guess we have the caste system being played in Barbados and in some other territory. And if you look at what is happening, look at some of our leaders, the ones who you see hugging up tight, check to see what is happening in their territories. They're the ones who's creating the kind of foolishness in their territories, because you know what? They're drinking from the same mug, like one of the viewers I noticed said. They're drinking from the same mug, and all they're interested in is how much wealth I can accumulate. How much wealth I can accumulate. In Guyana, I don't know if you have it in Barbados, but in Guyana, we have, yes, and I'm seeing he's there to attend the conference, and I'm wondering what is he going to tell the people there. And Guyanese in Barbados should come out and picket him, because if you can't fix it right in your own country, you can't go fix it right. You can't go to somebody else's country to tell them living together and all the nonsense.
I was actually going to say that.
In our police force, we got big confusion in the police force, big corruption in the police force. Right now, a deputy commissioner is on administrative leave because it is alleged that he's involved in, or he attempted to launder monies through the police force's credit union. So he is on the investigation. Just this evening, he filed a motion against the government. We've seen now the restart of kidnappings in Guyana and execution-style murders. So I don't know what is Irfan Ali coming to tell you people in Barbados. We have here where blacks, Afro-Guyanese are being dismissed left, right, and center because it is perceived that they are supporters of the coalition, and that's the opposition. They're being dismissed. If you speak out, you're being transferred left, right, and center. Supersession is taking place in almost every ministry, and where that is not happening, you have PSs and that's permanent secretaries, who are aligned to the government, creating havoc in this country. All kinds of allegations of corruption is leveled against them. But Irfan Ali coming to speak to you people at your conference. And so you see, the peas in a pod, they stick together while they oppress the people in their territories. And that has got to change.
And permit me, please, I know that Coretta and I, Madam, are dealing with a lot, but we have to. For those of you in Barbados who are of African descent, when Irfan Ali arrives, kindly ask him to explain how he would have said on what is called Arrival Day. He said that the Africans came here for a better way of life. I could not believe that. I can believe that some newspaper president would make such a statement that Africans left Africa to come here for a better way of life, when we know that many of those who left were princes, princesses, businessmen,
Royalty,
farmers.
Nigel,
Yes,
nobody left Africa.
we were dragged out of Africa.
Thank you,
Okay then. But
thank you.
Irfan Ali, Guyana president, to address BLP annual conferences, has said to Guyanese of African descent that we, through our ancestors, left Africa in search of a better way of life. And it took significant public outcry for him to even acknowledge that what he said was totally disrespectful. But yet he's being deemed one who's worthy of traveling to your nation to address you. Additionally, this is the person who also, upon ascension to office, they wiped out an entire staff complement for the St. John's Ambulance Brigade. All were fired, all were sent home, all of them. During the pandemic, by the way, this during what was called the pandemic and the COVID crisis and all that, when people could barely work, all of them were sent home, predominantly African descendants. This is the person during the pandemic. Under his watch, in Linden, where I live, which is predominantly African descendants, as the Member of Parliament said, and where they know that by voting, by electoral demographics, they vote against the PPP overwhelmingly, they locked people out of the hospital. People who are unconscious were also locked at the hospital in Linden, while in their strongholds, the hospitals remain open. In their communities, but in Linden, the main hospital serves 4 different regions, so Region 7, Region 8, Region 9, Region 10. They locked people out while their hospitals remain open. That's the person who's coming to you to say that because apparently Guyana is deemed to be economically viable and deemed to be thriving economically, he is worthy of speaking to Barbadians who are predominantly Africans. Further to this under his watch, the Haitians are deemed to be unworthy of coming to Guyana. Though Haiti is a part of CARICOM and there's free movement of CARICOM nationals, Haitians are not allowed to come here. But Venezuelans, whose leader is saying that about 2/3 of our landmass belongs to them, thereby all of the oil belongs to them. All of the gold, because that's where gold and diamond is mined, belongs to them. He has got Venezuelans living here by the thousands. They're being subsidized heavily by our taxpaying dollars. They're being told that they're allowed to live here and that Londoners, for example, are lazy people and they work harder than us. But he is saying, by behavior, that Haitians don't have right to be here in the same numbers. That's the kind of person we're dealing with, where because of person, and most of the Venezuelans who are here are of lighter complexion, straight hair and so on, they're allowed to be here to work. And they're told that the PNC, which will be the Africans, are against them, and the PP is for them. I would that someone in Barbados would arise with courage, with strength, and with zeal to let this young man know that you are much wiser than that which is being presented to you.
Well, if I can come in there, Nigel, I don't know why you put it over so nicely, The Haitians were handcuffed and put in the lockups. They passed them through court.
In a detention center.
They passed them through court and then placed them in a detention center to have them out of Guyana again, to have them deported. Right now, there is visa restriction for Haitians to come to Guyana, but the Venezuelans can come in here at whims and fancies. You see them by boatloads. They're coming in to our shores and nobody's stopping them. But you know why all of this is happening? It's happening because they're going to use them as voters for the elections purpose.
Well, I tell you, we just have a couple more.
Sorry.
Sorry, Nigel. We just have a couple more minutes left on the program, and I want to give Abraham a chance to make a comment here because I know you've heard a lot, Abraham. If
Yes,
you could,
I'll be very, very brief. I think that having heard what we heard, having been together more than once, the government of Barbados, as well as the government of Guyana, has to know that Barbadians aren't foolish the same way Guyanese aren't foolish. And that enough is enough of this playing people for fools.
Mm-hmm.
Guyana is predominantly now, well, well, you know, when you're doing law, about 50% is more. Uh, so if you are dealing with beyond 50% in abject poverty, that is a significant amount, and that's just a modest amount. Barbados as well. When you do the walk with the water and stuff, you are seeing the same abject poverty in Barbados as well. But yet the Prime Minister of Barbados is not going to let the global world see the abject poverty that is in Barbados and the percentage that is alarming in Barbados.
No
So
way.
we are seeing similar situations where in Guyana, we have not even mentioned indigenous peoples that are being taken advantage of. So I don't have time to speak because time wouldn't permit. But all I'm going to say is Barbados and Guyana, people of Barbados and Guyana, we are not foolish and they are not foolish. And the people that govern these places wake up and know that people aren't foolish.
you know, I'm going to see what we can do, Nigel and Madam Carito, to have you guys back on the show
You
at a
need
time
to.
convenient to you. Um, as I listen to you, my mind goes to an experience in the European Union Parliament. I don't know how many of you all saw it or were aware of it. When Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada went to address the European Union, and the parliamentarians in the European Union objected to his addressing them because he did not have a right to speak on matters of democracy because of what he had done in Canada during the pandemic. And people got up and left the parliament. Now, I am wondering, when are we going to hear that in CARICOM? Where CARICOM leaders will get up and say, sir, you have no right to address this August body, is usually what they say, because
I
of
don't
what
know.
you are doing in your country. I challenge any member of the Barbados Labour Party, anybody in the Barbados Labour Party, to get up in the conference and make a statement of that nature.
Go right ahead. They would never do
Now,
it.
if I was there, there wouldn't. If I was there, I would be the person doing it because some years ago, the then Prime Minister, asked me to address a Sunday morning preaching message, and I challenged him on a number of things, and I reminded him that Barbados did not belong to the Barbados Labour Party, or the Democratic Labour Party belonged to the people of Barbados. And maybe we need to remind our politicians that our countries do not belong to them. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it would appear the only way to do that is at the ballot box. And I'm praying to God Almighty, Madam Carita and Nigel, our own Nigel here in Barbados, and Abraham and Dave. Dave is in the background helping us with the technology. That it doesn't come to anything other than that.
Yeah.
Because when people find that they are not being heard, when people find that they're not being, their needs and their issues are not being addressed, and that there is a sense in which there is not a fairness of the electoral process in a country, inevitably, I think we know what some people can resort to. And that is the last thing we are going to want to see in our countries. So I am praying. I must say that at the end of the day, I'm a strong believer that God does not sleep and God does not slumber.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sooner or later, he will speak.
Yep.
And when he does, from my history of biblical history, it can often result in the death of leaders. And I have cautioned even publicly. I've said this publicly. Those people who know me, some here on the show, I have said publicly that God does not need an election to remove a government from office.
Correct.
That's true.
He doesn't. He can remove a government from office without even snapping a finger. And it would serve our leaders well to recognize that they are not the final authority in their countries. And I'm reminded, Nigel and Madam Karita, in terms of your country, that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the people and
That's true.
all that dwell therein.
Mm-hmm.
And when you mess around with his creation, inevitably he speaks and he
Correct.
acts. I hope they can handle it when he does.
Well, I hope so too.
I
And
hope
since
so.
and since my brother was talking about our indigenous people whom we have
Mhm.
not spoken about, I want to let the people in Barbados know the Bajans must ask Irfan Ali, why
Yes.
is it that he did not come out to speak in representation for those indigenous girls
That were
who
taken
made
advantage of.
allegations against his
Yep.
minister and
Yep.
ministers
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
other public servants in high offices that he has? Not a
Molested.
word you're
Yeah.
not hearing from them. All the abuses that is being meted out to women, you don't hear them saying anything. As a matter of fact, we have some female ministers in the government, and zip from them, not a word they can't say when these allegations are being. So Irfan Ali is a practicing Muslim that he claims to be. He must come to Barbados and speak on these issues. He must come there to tell you why, after all of these years, they cannot seek to appoint the Chancellor and the Chief Justice. You know why? Because both of them are Afro-Guyanese women. You're appointing judges all the time, but you're not seeking to elevate those two and to confirm them to the positions that they've been acting in for all these years. Even though the opposition leader would have given you the green light to appoint these two women. Further than that, we have a deputy chief education officer who died recently. For 7 years, she sat in the chair acting as chief education officer, could not be appointed by the PPP government. That's the kind of wickedness that they do in this country. And when your leaders in Barbados sit and accept these things for the we hear all the time about the curry fish that is being flown to Barbados on the weekend, all the different curries that are being flown to Barbados, and the secret coming into Guyana. You remember when we had the issue with the aircraft, and it's only then that we recognize that your prime minister was in Guyana. And I would say it again, the people in Guyana should reject Mia whenever she comes to Guyana. They should reject her. They should protest her when she comes to Guyana. And the people in Barbados should protest Irfan Ali when he touches down there. They must understand that enough is enough. And people are not stupid. And we understand what they're doing. It's disgusting. Very
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yes.
You know, let me just say this last one before I close. We had the issue with the people in Mocha. I'm sure you saw those videos.
Yeah.
KNU, where they demolished the homes of those people. One single mother was handcuffed, thrown
Yes.
in the mud, and police officers had their feet on her back, you know, and they claimed that those people were living in the way of a road that they wanted to do. If you come to Guyana, we will take you and show you. That plot of land is right there. The road is right where it is supposed to be. Nothing there humbugging them, but the livelihood of those, I think it was 24 Afro-Guyanese families and maybe 2 or 3 mixed families who were living on that stretch of land. The lives of those people, little children, 7-year-old, crying when they look at what a machine was doing to what they called home. People living on those plots for 28 and 34 years. and then they were told recently that they are living this, and these lands are ancestral lands, you know, and they were told then that they had no right to be living there. And then Irfan Ali is coming to Barbados to talk to you, to tell you what.
And may I, please, I know we have a moment left, but I have to do this. It'd be remiss of me if I don't. In reference to that Mocha situation, Irfan said he didn't want to appear weak, hence he allowed that to happen. Further, the children who died, the 20 children who died in Mahdia, 20 children, and if ever there's a reason why you should stand, it should be for this. After the fire, while human remains were still in the rubble, they took the debris and filled potholes in Mahdia with our children's body in there. That's what this man party did. And it took an outcry from me and others to say, how could you be so callous, so unhuman, to have children whose remains are in the rubble, and you have a machine of people taking the debris and filling potholes for people to walk and drive on. That's what you're doing within Barbados. And that's who's coming to talk to you to say that he, because of economics, is good enough to speak to you as a people. If money is what matters, listen to Irfan. But if righteousness and principles matter, you should shut him up from the moment he arrives. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, this is heartbreaking to listen to. I must tell you the truth. And, you know, sometimes I must confess, lady and gentlemen, that there are times that I will refer to it as a righteous indignation arises within me. And I thank God I'm not God. I thank him I'm not God, because in hearing it, I feel, I won't say how I feel.
Dr. Nichols,
Don't let me say how I feel.
yeah, in my closing comment, Dr. Nichols,
Yes, sir.
there is a universal sense of superiority and hatred of Black or African people. The whole Western civilization, if you may call it, Western barbarism, it's not civilization. Western barbarism is built on xenophobia and extreme hatred of African people. We are being treated with benign neglect. We as African people must make what I call a phenotypically specific and culturally relevant analysis of history. And then, based on our findings, make the relevant decisions to free ourselves. Because no one is going to free us.
That's true.
No one is going to free us. I dare say not even God is going to free us. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. And we have to have the courage and the determination to confront injustice and do the right thing. Destroy it. Destroy it. We have no other option but massive civil disobedience against every evil that has been perpetuated for centuries and still continues. We have every right to stand up and destroy it come hell or high water.
I agree.
Wow. Well said, Nigel. Well said. You know, as a preacher, I like to go off with a good note. You know what I'm saying? We like to send people off with a good note. And I'm challenged tonight because of what I've heard, except that I would have to say that at the end of the day, I have to be a believer that prayer works. I have to believe this because sometimes when we look at the reality of things around us, my friend Nigel speaks of civil disobedience. When we hit the streets and we protest, we shut the country down. These are things that we need to do. And I must say, Nigel and Madam Carita, that unfortunately, a lot of our compatriots in our country are not willing, they are afraid to march because they can be identified. There's a fear of losing their jobs, there's a fear of
Yeah.
being victimized, and so
Mhm.
on. And as a result of that, but there was a young lady on from Kenya some time ago on one of Marcia's show, and she said something I have never forgotten. When we lose our fear, they lose their power. And I
Mhm.
have embraced that.
Mhm.
I want to
Mhm.
thank you both for coming on tonight. I was just looking back at the schedule to see when we could have you on again because I would, to be honest with you, I would have loved to have you on Friday, the day before. I think actually, I think he's going to be speaking on Saturday, the day before he speaks here in Barbados. But hearing what you have said, I mean, from every angle, even the moral one. I apologize for our Prime Minister inviting him to speak at the conference in Barbados to you as Guyanese people. I apologize on the behalf of my citizens of my country. Please accept our apologies
Thank you.
for what our leadership is doing in supporting the kind of thing that we have heard on this show tonight. I want to thank all of you. Madam Karita, it was so nice to see you again. And it is always an education for me to sit at your feet and listen to the wisdom of the years and the agitation perspectives that you bring to bear in trying to achieve what is the right thing to do, not the political thing, the right thing to do. I have never been on a program with you that I have ever heard you express political things to do. Some may take it as politics, but I take it as what is
Mhm.
right to be done.
Mhm.
And I think this is the first time, Nigel, I'm meeting you. And I'm happy to have made your acquaintance this evening. And thank you for speaking the right things and not holding back and expressing the emotional component that you just spoke of. Because as you were speaking, I thought of my own children. I now have 6 grandchildren, and I thought, of what could have happened in if situations were flipped, and I was there in that position. It's really challenging, and I want to thank you both for coming and sharing your heart as it relates to this. And I pray that Barbadians are listening. I hope they're listening, and I hope that we will see not only Barbadians but Guyanese as well here in Barbados come out in protest when the conference is held on Saturday. I want to thank you to Abraham for staying all the way through with us. I know you
Yeah.
had just come in to share to share with us together on the cybercrime bill, which now we hear all that's happening in Guyana as well. We begin to
Yeah.
understand how important it is for us to deal with this cybercrime bill.
Very
And
interconnected.
yes,
Yeah.
and of course, Nigel, what can I say? We always enjoy ourselves and we have such wonderful interaction when we are together on the program. And I want to thank you for being here again tonight. Thank you, loyal opposition, for being with us all the way through. Keep Marcia in your prayers. She is traveling. She is going into Europe, I believe, to address a conference there. And she will be also in the United Kingdom to address the roadside parliament there. I want to remind you of Mr. Strickland's motorcade on the what was that date again? Date the 27th of this month, October, that will be commencing from St. Lucy's Parish Church all the way around St. Lucy and all through St. Lucy. We want to remind you of that motorcade as well as reminding you that tomorrow is Black Thursday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're calling it Black Thursday, Nigel and Madam Carita. I'm going to let Dave put it up. The the government ran a red flyer that we refused to give them mileage on. They didn't say what it was. They just put it, we're red on Thursday. So we thought that we would counter that with this flyer, that we mourn the freedom of speech. Just let me take that comment off so you can see it. We mourn the freedom of speech, high food prices, high gas prices, school violence, increase in gun violence, our national insurance, our Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Hope Project, absentee Prime Minister, brung water in St. Lucy and St. Peter. So tomorrow, the loyal opposition, all of us, are going to be wearing black because we are mourning what is happening in our country. And it may be something that you all can initiate to in Guyana, where you can wear black to mourn, what is happening there in Guyana as well. I thought it was a great initiative of Marcia to bring that out and counter what was being promoted. And also to remind you, loyal opposition, of the young lady that is in desperate need of that special water. We shared it a little earlier with you. We will promote that each program all the way through as we seek to help our fellow Barbadian here who is seeking assistance with her child who has gone through such a horrible life. So thank you all for being here tonight. Oh, what a joy it has been. I don't know if the right word is a joy. A joy in that I have you, but difficult in terms of what you have shared. But thank you for being as clear, transparent as you have been. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we come to the end of another Marcy Week show. And Dave, you know what people are going to be waiting for. So, Madam Carita, thank you. God bless you. Have a great night. Nigel, you as well. As a matter of fact, Madam Carita, you have my contact information. I'd love you to send me the link that I could be a part and get on some of your presentations with Nigel and so on as well. I'd love to hear that as well. All right. And Nigel and Abraham, again, thank you so very much. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you.
God bless
I
you.
know I'm interested in prosecuting them.
I
This already. I want money.
Wait, say what?
Money.
Whoa!
Money.
Yo!
I want money.
Wait, she really said that for you?
Money. I'm not interested in prosecuting them, brother. I want money.
Whoa!
Money.
Whoa!
Money. Money.
Yo!
Money.
You hear that?
Money.
She want money, yeah?
I want money. I want money.
You hear that? She want money, yeah?
I'm not interested in prosecuting them, brother. Tell me this already. I want money. I want money.
Boy, she only care about the money. Bye, girl. Bye.
That mouth snort English. Pretending to be good. Hey, pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. Hey, pretending to be good. Hey, just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending. And I'm pretending to be good at mouth snort English. Hey, just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at math, snort English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at math, snort English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at math, snort English. I just pretending to care about people.
Dancers, come forward, walk out. This one I got worldwide.
Just days after former government backbencher Ralph Thorne crossed the floor, he's taken the oath of office as leader of the opposition.
Cross the floor, let me do it some more like Ralph Thorne. Ralph Thorne. On the other side, cross the floor, cross the floor, cross the floor, let me do it some more like Ralph Thorne. Wait there, Ralph Thorne. Dancing, come back again. Our turn is the latest trend. Everybody know link up my friend. This one designed to the
and more will be left over.
Dancing, come back again. Our turn is the latest.
Are these trips so important?
Link up my friend. This one designed to the living.
Yes, I'm for real, member. I am for real.
And I can't decide, so I'm moving with
Don't let me talk out your business. Don't let me talk out your business. All right.
And I can't decide, so I'm moving with the tide. Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. So let me do this now. Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. Yes, yes. And let me go now. Cross the floor, cross the floor, cross the floor. Let me do it some more like Ralph Torn. Ralph Torn. On the other side, cross the floor.
There has to be some order here.
Cross the floor, let me do it some more like Ralph.
The Minister of Finance is not party to this present transaction, Your Honor. Ask him to keep quiet, please. And I say to you further, Mr. Speaker, that my conscience, my location here is related to my conscience. I said it last year. It is well with my soul.
Take a wine on the left side, and I can't decide, so I'm moving with the tide, moving with the tide. Take a wine on the right side, take a wine on the left side, and I can't decide, so I'm moving with the tide. Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. So let me do this now. Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. Yeah, yeah. And let me go now. Cross the floor, cross the floor, cross the floor. Let me do it some more like Ralph Torn. Ralph Torn. On the other side, cross the floor, cross the floor, cross the floor. Let me do it some more like Ralph Torn. Ralph Torn.
That is my man. So whether he cross or in cross, he will always be there for us.
I came to a point where I had to take the decision that if my philosophical and political views do not accord with those of government in terms of its legislation, in terms of its policy, the relationship becomes untenable.
Guys, God bless. Good night, loyal opposition. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.